Go.
All right, I call the order the Plan Commission meeting. I get the public hearings first at the Richard Young Fire Station on January 28th, 2026,
Two.
6:32. Roll call.
President Gerke,
Here.
Trustee Baum.
Here.
We've got Trustee Beal here. Commissioner Aelhafen,
Here.
Commissioner Eberly,
Here.
Commissioner Howard,
Here.
Commissioner McCormick,
Here.
Commissioner Lesser,
Here.
Planner Sumwalt,
Here.
Attorney Larson,
Here.
Engineer Lysis is present in the audience, Administrator Green,
Here.
and Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
All right. I'd like to call the order of the Plan Commission meeting. We did the roll call, so now the first item is the public hearing. We've got two public hearings tonight. First, Oren will give his presentation overviewing the proposal. This will be followed by the petitioner addressing the commission if they so desire. Next, the Plan Commission and village board members will have the opportunity to ask questions for clarification of the village planner, the applicants, and/or staff. Then we will open up the hearing to comments for witness testimony if there are any. I'm guessing there might not be tonight, but that'll be the next step in the process. And if there are, the speakers need to fill out a form before talking, which includes the rules for witness testimony on that slip. So with
The
this,
forms are available on the table next to the front door, along with copies of the agenda and the public hearing notice that was published in the paper.
so at this point, the public hearing is now open, and before the planner gives the presentation, the clerk will read into the record the hearing notice.
Notice is hereby given that public hearings will be held on Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, starting at 6:30 p.m. at the Richard Young Memorial Fire Station on Lisbon Road to solicit public comments on the following items. This is for public hearing number 1. It is a joint village board and plan commission meeting, joint village board and plan commission public hearing to consider a request by owner applicant Mary Fallon to rezone approximately 5 acres in the southeasternmost corner of the property located at North 56, West 26106 Richmond Road, tax key LSBT 0260994, from the A10 Agricultural District to the A5 Mini Farm District. No changes are proposed to any lands within the C1 Conservancy or Shoreland Overlay Districts.
All right, so the second thing here then is the village planner's presentation. Oren?
Thank you. I've got up on the screen the GIS map of the subject parcel. Again, this is a proposed rezoning. The petitioner is proposing to rezone approximately 5 acres of her property, which is about 34 acres, from the current A10 to the A5 district to facilitate the creation of a new parcel, which would be a new home site for the petitioner's son. This is in the southeast corner of her parcel near the intersection of Richmond Road and Mary Hill Road. The application was intended to be accompanied by a certified survey map to actually create the parcel. The petitioner was notified that the requested exemption for or waiver for excluding the remnant portion of the property could not be considered because of the village's rules. There needs to be a minimum of 40 acres in order to entertain a waiver request for excluding a remnant from a certified survey map. So the petitioner is going to be deciding on whether to move forward with having the rest of the parcel surveyed to be a lot of the proposed CSM. We do, however, have a draft of what that would look like. So if there's any questions about what is being considered to be done here, again, the goal was to create this 5 acre lot, roughly 380 by 575. Again, at the intersection of Mary Hill and Richmond Road. The parcel did have perk tests done, soil borings, so all of the necessary work to show that it could be served by a septic system. As far as the land use for this area, the proposed zoning would be consistent with it. It's got a low density residential land use. So a lot that would be larger than the 20,000 to 1.4 acres would be allowed. As far as conditions of the approval, there's some recommended conditions. Obviously, since the certified survey map can't move forward as it was originally intended at this time, condition number 2 states that the rezoning, if the plan commission should entertain granting or recommending to the board to grant it, would be subject to the Village of Lisbon's approval of a certified survey map. And again, you can see that document's pretty much been prepared. I think the difference moving forward would be that it would include a second lot that would be the petitioner's farmstead parcel. So that's what I wanted to convey. The petitioner is present in the audience if there's any questions for her. And I'd be happy to help answer any that the plan commission might have as well.
The petitioner, I'm sorry, I knew it was one of the two of you, and I was going to make my rounds earlier and I just ran out of time. So you want to come on up, Mary? We're not going to make you give a presentation, but do you have anything that you would like to add at this point? No? Okay.
Oh, Mary, I think you're gonna have to flip the switch to turn that mic on.
Should be a button underneath.
Yep, right there.
There we go.
Yep,
How's-
now I see a light.
Okay.
All right. If you don't have anything to add, then we will move on to the, on our script here, the fourth item, which is opening it up to the commission to ask any questions of Mary or Oren or staff. Does anyone on the plan commission have any questions at this point?
I've got a question for the village engineer. Which pertains to this. Do you remember on Oktoberfields what the dedication on Mary Hill Road was? Yes. Was it 50 feet or is it?
I don't remember.
Here's what I'm getting at. Right now, the draft CSM shows a dedication of 33 feet for Mary Hill Road. Whatever it is, it should match what Mary Hill is or what Oktoberfields is. Cause I would not be surprised if Oktoberfields has a dedication of 50 feet. If that's the case, we want the same across the street. This has to do with the eventual width of Mary Hill Road sometime in the future. We just want it to match what's across the street in Oktoberfields, which is obviously the subdivision across the street from your place.
Is that the right of way from the?
Yeah, well,
center
the
of the
right
road?
of way, you've got shown on your CSM here,
Mhm.
you've got 33 feet, which is from the center of the right of way to the new property line.
Right.
And the same is across the street. I don't know, I would not be surprised if across the street was 50 feet, in which case yours would be 50 feet also. So it's something that, I don't know if Mitch can find that, otherwise you'll have to take that into account. Your surveyor is when he or she prepares the final CSM.
Well, Oktoberfields isn't directly across, it's kitty corner. There's two other properties that are directly across from this property.
Right, but we want to have the same.
I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
kitty corner.
It is, okay, never mind.
Thank you.
And
It
it's,
should have been 50, but anyway, it's too late now.
and it's, yeah, not across from the 5 acres, but it'd be across from the larger parcel with the remnant. Any other questions?
I did not have any.
All right, no one else? I don't see anyone. Others? Is there anyone on Zoom tonight?
No one's present on Zoom besides staff.
All right.
Just us.
Linda, you don't have anything either?
No, thank you.
All right, So then during all the questions, we will close the public hearing. All right, thank you very much. Then we will open up the second public hearing with the same process. So Lisa, if you'll go ahead and read in the public hearing notice.
Public hearing number 2 is a request by applicant Haley Gibbon, Eastspire Homes, on behalf of owners Brett Hart and Thomas Hart for a conditional use permit to allow an in-law unit as part of new residential construction on the property located at North 59, West 25935 Amberwood Court, tax key number LSBT 0255076 in the R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District.
Oren, you can go next.
Okay, I'm just getting the screen up here. So I've got the parcel highlighted. The proposal is, again, for a conditional use permit for an in-law suite as part of the construction of a new home in the October Field subdivision. This is Lot 8, which I have highlighted in blue on the screen there. The October Field subdivision is actually zoned R1, not A10 as it appears. We'll be working with the county's GIS staff to get that updated. The last time we had a proposal like this was for the Dalla Piazza residence, which was in an existing home. They were renovating the interior of that home and going to have an in-law suite as part of that renovation. This is actually new home construction, which is a little different. So the overall layout of this house will include on the first level the in-law suite on one end, and the remainder of the house will be for the main family, and the in-law suite will be for their parents, essentially. That's the proposed accommodations. As far as the code is concerned, this is allowed as a conditional use. There are specific standards. The petitioner has done a good job of providing responses to those, which are outlined in both staff review and in the supplements included in the packet. I'm going to bring up the applicant's submittal materials. Here is the plat of survey of the proposed home that just shows the layout on the property. As far as the things that are in the conditional use standards, the home has to meet all of the regular standards of the zoning for a conventional single-family home. The petitioner has demonstrated that they will be able to do that in this instance. Also, they have to abide by the county's rules for septic. They're still in the preliminary stages of that, but they have shown approximately where that septic field might be located and that the site can accommodate it. And you know, that's just part of the normal building permit process. We've got in condition 5 that their approval is going to be subject to getting any Waukesha County Environmental Health Department approvals for the well and septic systems for the home. One of the aspects of this that is, I think, unique is that the proposed single-family home will actually have 2 garages, one for the main house, if you will, and one on the other end that would probably be used for the parents who will live in the in-law suite. I will continue scrolling here, pardon the movement, until I get to the building elevations. Let me see if I can turn this. There we go. So the front of the house will essentially have a side-loaded garage for the main house. That would be the garage on the right that I'm circling here. And so that'll have a residential looking window and roof line that goes with the home. And then there'll be a front-loaded garage on the east end of the home that would align with the portion of the home that's going to have the in-law unit in it. One of the considerations for requesting an in-law unit is, will there be a door separating the in-law unit from the remainder of the house or not? And the Plan Commission has the discretion to consider that and potentially approve it under certain circumstances. In this instance, the petitioner is not requesting to have such a separation. If you look in your packets at the actual plans, the floor plan for the home, there's going to be an open hallway, if you will. There will not be a proposed door separating the in-law unit from the rest of the house. It will essentially free flow. So this would be page 4 of 5 of the building plan set, which includes the elevations. So I just wanted to point that out, that they had considered it, they decided against it. They've provided a very lengthy response in the conditional use standards. If you read that portion of your packet materials, explaining how the house is free flowing between the proposed in-law unit and the remainder of the house. So on the plan in your packet, the in-law unit would be in the top left portion of the home, and the remainder of the house is what would be for the rest of the family that's going to reside there, the main house, if you will. As far as proposed conditions of approval for this, if you look at both staff review, we've got a condition, which again comes from the conditional use standards, that a deed restriction be filed in the Waukesha County Register of Deeds office, and a copy of that recorded document be presented to the building inspector prior to issuance of the building permit. That deed restriction needs to state that the in-law unit is to be occupied by not more than 2 persons related by blood, adoption, or marriage to the family occupying the principal unit, and that the conditional use is not transferable without formal approval of the Plan Commission without necessity of a public hearing. And condition 3 furthermore states that the property owner shall annually place on file with the village clerk's office a list of who is living in the in-law unit to ensure the dwelling is still meeting the definition of an in-law unit pursuant to section 18.02 of the village zoning code. That's just a place on file scenario, so that the clerk can know that the proposed living arrangement hasn't changed. So those are both proposed conditions in the staff review. The petitioner's agent, Haley Gibbon from Aspire Homes, is present in the audience if there's specific questions for her. And I can, again, answer any questions that the Plan Commission has if I'm able.
All right, Haley, you want to come on up? Brian said you put together a complete packet here with a lot of information, but anything that you wanted to highlight now or go over for us?
I just wanted to provide an update. I don't know if it's-
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have, yeah, can you go ahead and state your name and address? We have it in the papers, but can you state that for the record?
Haley Gibbon, my personal address or
No,
company?
Spire is fine.
Okay, 530 Hartbrook Drive, in Heartland, 53029. On behalf of Thomas and Brett Hart. I did just want to provide an update as far as, we did receive our sanitary permit approval today. And we were also able to obtain ACC approval this week as well. So it's been approved by their subdivision. But then any other questions?
All right, so now we open it to the Plan Commission for any questions they have of applicant, staff, or Oren. I'll go down the line. Go ahead.
The soils report that we have in our packet is for 3 to 5 bedrooms.
We do have an updated one with our revised septic that I can submit and
No,
provide. as-
I think we should, but I mean, I'm assuming the county looked at the floor plan and saw there were 7 bedrooms and
Correct. They were going off people in homes versus bedrooms. So they were saying that the septic would support the number of people living in the homes, in the home.
Typically, they go off of bedrooms.
I can look and see what was submitted.
This says 3 to 5 bedrooms. It just, I mean, to protect your
Yeah.
client and
We got a revised soil test for the 6 to 7 or 6 bedroom mound, for the home. For up to 12,
7 bedrooms.
but one's a guest that won't be occupied. It's just an extra room.
doesn't mean anything.
Future residences in that house.
Okay, I can definitely go back to the county. They did approve it.
County has
Based-
seen, you've given them the plans.
I have a
mean, and
sanitary.
obviously it shows the number of bedrooms on
Yeah,
there.
correct. Yep.
I would be concerned if I was you and your client, that you get something from the county that states that they know that there's 7 bedrooms
Absolutely.
to protect everybody.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're looking at?
I have the sanitary permit. It does say 6 bedrooms. And with this, the septic company that they're utilizing, provided them additional detail that there'd be less than that living in the home, because typically they say with bedrooms, they're under an anticipation of 2 people per bedroom, so that the mound would support up to 12 people, which there won't be in that home.
But that doesn't matter. If somebody made a mistake somewhere or another, you're gonna want a sanitary permit for 7 bedrooms.
Okay.
And I think we need to require that as a condition, if this goes forward, that we receive that.
How do you see that, Brian? I mean, in your day-to-day business, when you're doing inspections, or at that point, is it too late? Well, you're looking at the plans before construction starts.
Yeah, and one of the requirements is that they have to have a sanitary permit. And I do double check the sanitary permit versus the bedrooms.
This would be a flag. I mean,
Yeah, and typically though, kind of what you're saying, so let's say that you have a 4-bedroom house and then you finish off your basement and you're putting a bedroom in the basement. They'll allow you to put that bedroom in the basement without revising your septic system. Anytime you go over 2, then you have to sign an affidavit and then it goes on your register with the Register of Deeds that you have an undersized system. So that might be something similar. I've never run into this with a new home construction.
Okay.
But only in remodeling.
Mhm.
But it is something that I think it should probably be double checked.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. I didn't actually study each bedroom. Do they all have closets? Because if a bedroom is not considered a bedroom unless it has a built-in closet.
They
So-
all do have closets.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, so then I would just double check it,
Okay,
just so that there's no surprises.
absolutely.
When
But
you go-
in the closet thing, the office has a closet too. Was that, how do they label a bedroom?
Technically, what
Is
I
it just,
What I was always told is that if you have a room with a built-in closet and it has a door, it's a bedroom, no matter what you label it.
so then you need 8.
That'd be 8.
Or we could opt to
Or-
put shelving instead of a closet maybe in the office. Remove a door.
I think you want something in writing from the county
Okay,
that they have reviewed the floor plans and that they're comfortable with 7 or 8 bedrooms on your permit, because otherwise it's going to be something on the deed for that property for the subsequent buyers and or sellers that are gonna be detrimental to them. I
okay.
mean, just,
Mm-hmm,
it's easier to take care of it now than it is in the future.
mm-hmm.
May I ask who the plumber is for the septic?
For doing the septic will be J and H Sanitary and Septic.
Okay, I'm not familiar with them, but I'm sure they
Mm-hmm,
did their homework and I'm sure they're reputable. I'm just not familiar with them.
mm-hmm,
Jay Lesso did the soil tips.
correct.
Jeff did.
That was the original one from the
Yeah.
developer, and then J and H, I believe it's soil and septic sanitary systems. They did the revision based on the revised mound for the home.
But I think that when we get to that point, I would think we'd want something in the CU to require that we get that.
Okay.
Sit for your client.
It's a pretty good sized house with probably a pretty good sized mound.
Yes, yes, it is very large.
So we're not asking that the sanitary permits coincides with the number of bedrooms, just that the county is aware of the number of bedrooms and signs off on it. Is that, am I hearing you?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Well, that, but to protect her client, the owner of the property, if I
'Cause
was
they will have
them,
to
I would
disclose
want
it.
something in writing that specifically says the septic system is approved for 8 bedrooms, which is
Mhm.
what you've got here with that office. So you have that, you file one with the village and then give the one to your owner that they put in their magic box when they go to sell that thing.
Mhm.
Okay, that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
So if this is designed right now, the septic system for 6 bedrooms, and we're saying maybe it'd have to be designed for 8, I mean, it's gonna be a larger system.
I don't know, I'm not a CST, so I can't say that.
Correct. They presented, the septic company presented a couple options. Obviously, we're just trying to maximize, their yard space as they do have an acre and that mount system would get closer and closer to the house based on where has to be per the grading plan, per the grades. They did present some options, so we could definitely see, or, I believe in my county, we did this on my home and they had us sign a waiver where we were either accepting an overflow tank for a backup or signing away that we are accepting responsibility. So I don't know if maybe they have an option like that. But again, maybe our customer would be open to removing the closet in the office, being the true 7, and then either increasing it or having an acknowledgement for the future buyer that it's not supporting the whole home.
Sanitary permits say mound or at grade system
It says
on the permit itself,
on the permit itself,
or maybe it doesn't.
it doesn't.
Okay.
On the
So-
soil test, the original soil test, it says mound on it, so it's not gonna go down.
Correct.
I guess what I would do is probably just call your plumber, have him contact the county, just something in writing, submit that with your permit. That
Okay.
they acknowledge that there's X amount of bedrooms. 8, what is what we counted,
Yep.
and that the mound is sized accordingly.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be some big, long, drawn out thing, just something that,
2 or 3 sentences
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
it, but it protects everybody.
Absolutely.
It's your benefit.
and for all I know, maybe they change your standards.
Mhm.
They change your numbering system this year, which is kind of confusing for
Okay.
me anyway,
Mhm.
but after all these years, so maybe they change a couple other standards for all I know.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions, maybe for the staff here. Concerned about, we're putting a waiver on the deed, right? So we're calling this a conditional use permit because we don't want them to rent this out to anyone, right? I mean, we don't want it to be part of a duplex or a rental. And that's the purpose for the conditional use permit. But the conditional use permit is for this specific owner and making sure that their family is living in this unit. So what happens if they want to sell this property in the future? Does that mean that they can't sell it because there's a deed restriction because of conditional use permit? Do they have to come back and terminate the conditional use permit? The new owners would have to reapply for a conditional use permit to be able to use that part of the house as a mother-in-law suite. And the other thing I'm concerned about is,
Well, you want Eric to answer that before you?
yeah, just a 2-part question. Then the other concern I have is how do we ensure and make sure that it's only family that's living in that? How do we police that going forward? I mean, we just assume that they're honest and the people living there are family. It's a concern for the village and it's a concern for the homeowners.
So, in general, this is, the concern about in-law units, that it becomes a duplex, and duplexes are not permitted. That's why we go through this conditional use process to, underscore that this is for a family member only, in that in-law unit. The conditional, so as to your first question, what happens when it's sold? That's one trigger point. There could be many other trigger points. But as to your question on that trigger point, the purchaser could use it as a single family home, just one single family home. Or they could come in and ask for the conditional use to be extended to them. We do have in our standard terms that a change of ownership triggers a need for a new conditional use permit. But typically at that point, it's kind of perfunctory. It's kind of, they come in and as long as they're going to operate it the same way, we really don't have a basis to deny it. So it would transfer after that approval of the new owner in all likelihood, if they wanted to continue the in-law unit use. So that responds to the first part. Before I go on to the second part, are you satisfied with that? Does that answer the question?
So I think what I heard you say is that they could sell it. There's no restrictions from them selling it. The new owners would assume the responsibility that they would use it as a single family home. If they wanted to use it as a mother-in-law suite, they would have to come back to the plan commission and re-ask for an update or a transfer of the conditional use permit.
Right, and that is based on one of our conditions in the conditional use permit. I could call it out here.
Last sentence of 2. Part of the deed restriction. Yeah.
Yeah, it says not transferable without formal approval of the plan commission.
So they couldn't sell it because there's a deed restriction until the plan commission
They could
approved.
sell it, they could sell it. They just can't,
It's not,
have that the mother-in-law use after the sale.
so where it says not transferable, that's talking about the conditional use. The conditional use is not transferable. The property's transferable. But the conditional use is not without the plan commission's approval.
Somebody could buy that and then just have their 10-year-old live on that side if they wanted. Got his own wing of the house.
Or they could sell it as it has an in-law suite. Yay, this is a big sale. Somebody comes in there with their mom and dad and never says anything to the plan commission. That's possible too. I think that's what.
I mean, how do you know if it's an, difference between your parents or your 10-year-old kid or your 21-year-old kid or your 25-year-old? I mean, where's the line between,
Well, and depending on how it's used, typically you don't have an in-law unit for your kid, right? It's all part of the single family use.
it's a great area. I mean, let's say your kid gets married and wants to live there. Is that,
It just has to be a family.
It just have to be related by blood
Yeah.
marriage adoption.
what point is it being used by if it's the owner's young, child and spouse or an owner's parent and spouse?
Doesn't matter.
As soon as that there's a spouse involved, that's when it's an in-law?
No,
just has to be
they
living
have to
by
be
a
related
family
by
member.
blood or marriage or adoption. And in your example, they would be.
So
Question.
maybe this gets to the second question, but so what if they sell the property, new owners buy it, and they have a friend living in the mother-in-law suite? How do we know? And what's preventing them from doing that?
Okay, so let me address the how do you know, which was the second part of your first question. This was a concern of staff when we talked about this at our staff meeting, because this, more so than prior in-law units that we've had where you're converting an existing building, this is building a new building. It with 2 separate garages. It has the appearance of setting up for that possibility. And so we talked about how do we recommend you address that? And what we recommended is shown in your condition number 3. I think it's 3. Where it says that they need to file every year something with the village that says who's living in that in-law unit. So then if it's, you know, in your example of a friend being there, if they file that it's a friend, not related by blood or marriage, we're gonna say, well, you're in violation.
How you prove that it's blood relation? I mean, they don't have to be, they can file a name, but they don't, doesn't necessarily.
Well, we would have to follow up. I mean, there would have to be some follow-up to
Okay.
find out.
It's all very odd. I mean, because, I
I mean,
mean,
it's-
any of us have a single family house. We can have a friend move in for,
And I guess Brian or somebody, the other in-law suites that we have approved, have they been full kitchen to this extent? Aren't they usually just like limited living quarters that are added on?
My recollection is some are, some aren't.
Okay, I mean, this is like an apartment with its own garage, its own entrance, its own kitchen. And I,
Neighbor's got one and his is the original house with the garage and then they added the in-law to the other side of the garage, so they share a garage.
that's, but this is like a separate, this is like a duplex. And I guess I agree with your concerns that how do you prove that it's not being used as a rental
So,
unit?
Mr. President, I am remembering now that we are in the public hearing. We're not in action mode yet. So maybe we should wrap up the public hearing. If there are any other questions for the applicant. And then when we take it up under new business, some of this discussion would be more appropriate at that time.
and there's no one else from the audience here has any questions or like to make any comments. And there's still no one on Zoom.
I just want to say it's a good catch, Joe, that you made about the number of bedrooms, and in all the years that I've been in doing what I have been doing, I've always heard and based it on the number of bedrooms, not people. So unless something changed, I agree with Joe and Brian, it should be bedrooms. So I'm really would like to find out myself when you hear something. Please let me know.
Sure.
Any other?
I have nothing.
All right, and if there's nothing else, then we will close the public hearing. And item 4 on the agenda are citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to share any comments they have on anything else tonight, and limit their presentation to 3 minutes. And I'm assuming there's none tonight, and there's still no one on Zoom, so
Correct.
we will skip over the meeting minutes. We'll have those at the next meeting and go on to new business, item 6A, which was the first public hearing item, which is discussion or necessary action on the request of the owner / applicant, Mary Fallon, to rezone approximately 5 acres in the southeasternmost corner of the property located at North 56 West 26106 Richmond Road, Lisbon taxi number 0260.994 from the A10 Agricultural District to the A5 Mini Farm District, and a recommendation to the village board of the same. All right, so Orrin already gave his presentation. I don't think we had too much on this. Anything else to discuss here? And you don't have anything else that you thought of to add in the last 10 minutes? If you do, come on up. I'm sorry.
For the CSM that was submitted, there was evidently, I did not read the ordinances. I was presented with the option to submit the waiver. So that's why now I have to wait for the survey, and he's booked. So he's hoping to get it done by April date that I was given
Sure.
for the full.
Yeah, and I think there was miscommunication that probably went both ways, so
Yeah.
the apology is mutual.
Oh,
And we will, we'll
Thank
get
you.
through it.
that's all.
It's no big deal.
Oh, good.
It's,
Thank you.
We're
This is a
here,
hard decision for me.
you
This
can
is,
you can still drive home. We're not gonna take tires off it.
thanks.
we're here every month, no matter what. Um, All right, is there, someone ready to make a motion then?
I'll make a motion for the Village of Lisbon Plan Commission to recommend to the village board approval of the rezoning request of Mary Fallon for the property located at North 56, West 26106 Richmond Road, subject to the conditions and commission comments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Rob, that was you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there any additional discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
All right. We are on to item B, which is discussion of necessary action on the request of Haley Gibbon on behalf of the property owners Brett and Thomas Hart for a conditional use permit for an in-law unit as part of the new residential construction on the property located at North 59 West 25935 Amberwood Court with Lisbon taxi number 0255.076 in the R1 Single Family Residential District. All right, so I think we still have some discussion that we were working our way through. You can come on back up. We might have questions for you again. So when was the most recent one that the Plan Commission and Board did on these? I mean,
Della Piazza?
I want to say it was either 2022 or 2023. I can look it up quick to be more precise.
again, it was not, it was a conversion, like you said, it was not new construction.
Correct.
And they're all a little bit unique.
23.
I know past the Plan Commission, I mean, very much like the idea of being able to keep families together and like that idea, but I think the concerns, I mean, are certainly there that they, like, we don't want duplexes in the middle of the subdivision. The subdivision, you said association has approved.
Correct.
This, which, I mean, we don't police those, but, I was gonna ask about that tonight. I'm sure others were as well.
My concerns were the two separate garages, making it look more like a duplex. And also the 800 square feet, how was that calculated to come under 800 square feet for the in-law unit?
It was based on the hallway opening, between the bedroom, front and rear bedroom, the hallway leading. It was 800 square foot stopped at that hallway opening. That's what we felt was appropriate.
Because to use the
calculate it.
exterior dimensions of that unit, it comes up to 840 square feet.
So let's say that that's right. We calculate living area, Oren or Mitch, on the interior walls or exterior walls.
I guess, how do you really define where that starts and stops? if there's
Well,
no
I was
door?
using the measurements on their plan
Sure.
for the in-law unit.
There's no door between them.
Mhm.
How do you know where the in-law starts and stops for measuring purposes?
It would be the living room wall.
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna state the obvious for somebody
Yeah.
else.
Well, the measurements go up to the wall that's divides the living room kitchen from the other main part of the house.
So I guess I was thinking you were talking about like the exterior wall, but yes, if there's an interior wall between the two rooms, then that question could
Just
be.
based on their plan, looking at the size of the in-law unit, it's 28 by 30, which comes up to 840 feet. So that's the only reason I asked.
It says 800 square.
It does say 800 square feet.
One of the standards.
And I guess my other question, like I said,
Here.
we don't have anything in our code, but
Yeah, I don't.
kitchenette versus full kitchen, because full kitchen makes it more apartment-like
Oh,
or a duplex-like.
Yeah,
The only way in there is this one door here, so that almost kind of looks like that's all part of
And
that.
this is a shared bathroom, so
It was just
you
one
can't
little.
count that, so in my opinion, it would be here.
Well, does that? I don't wanna be, there's a stairway going from the bathroom. No, that's from in,
The stairway in the
Is
garage
stair-
goes to the
yeah.
basement. That's not included in that measurement.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that stairway included as part of the living space.
It's in a non-heated, it's in the garage. Garage basement stairs.
I don't want to get persnickety about a few feet, but I'm just making sure that we're all on the same page here.
Cause then that stairwell goes to the basement right under the suite with bedroom 5 and an exercise room. And a bathroom. That's where that goes in.
Mr. President, as you know, with conditional uses, state law was modified a few years ago to establish, to limit our authority regarding review of conditional use. Our review needs to be based on the standards described in the ordinance and whether they meet the standards or they do not meet the standards. If they do meet the standards, they are entitled to the conditional use. We have to grant it. If they don't meet the standards, then we deny it. So my suggestion is that we walk through the standards. I think it would help focus our discussion to see whether we believe they have met or not met the standards. Based on the substantial evidence that's presented, most of it's on paper, and the testimony we've heard.
Walk us through that?
Sure. And I'm just gonna walk by reference to the staff report because they are all listed in the staff report. So, and the petitioner's response is also listed in the staff report. So the first standard is the County Environmental Resource Department shall certify that the septic system will accommodate the proposed use and in accordance with all federal, state, county, and local sanitary codes, including COM 83. The petitioner's response was they were in the process of applying, but now we have heard more tonight about that issue.
Technically, that hasn't been met yet.
So we should have approval be contingent upon, if there's a motion to approve contingent upon that being met to the.
8 bedrooms.
Whatever the county comes up with, they're the ones who to grant the permit. So it should just be approval by Waukesha County.
I would agree with that entirely.
As amended. Somebody missed the boat, I believe, on the county's part, unless they change, as Brian said, the rules.
All right, the 800 square foot issue, Orin, do you need to do anything else on that to have some clarification that the 800 square feet is accurately calculated? Are you comfortable with that, or where are we stand on that?
So the code doesn't specify, I guess, how the 800 feet be measured. It just says 800 feet. And so if the Plan Commission accepts the measurements based on the interior as was proposed by the petitioner's agent here this evening, then I think that is being satisfied or being met.
Are we sure the interior dimensions is 800 square feet? Has that been confirmed?
We could ask the petitioner to provide a exhibit displaying that calculation. If you know, what would appease the Plan Commission, I guess.
Well, if it's interior dimensions, I want to see that the calculation for the interior dimensions is 800 square feet or less. And what does that include? The hallway, I mean, there's a hallway between bedrooms 3 and 4 there. Is it the entrance out of the living area? Is it, where is that dimension being calculated?
Because like we said, so sure, the 28 by 30 is 840 square feet, but if there's that little bit of a bump out
Yeah,
there.
it's like 15 square feet.
Does-
So that's still over.
Oh, you think it's, I was thinking it was, I was thinking it was,
3 by 5.
okay,
When I blew it up on my computer to read it.
okay. And I have my glasses and my flashlight trying to get there, so.
You have to include the hallway closets in the bathroom. You can't exclude that. So that little tiny section that's just left at the right side of the door from the entrance to the garage, I think came out to 15 square feet. I think it was 3 by 5.
So let's say that they're,
potentially
let's say
could
that
be
they're at,
excluded.
15 square feet larger than the maximum. I mean, is there it is
Too much. The code says 800.
We're
Max.
happy to have our architect software map out specifically that area as an exhibit for you guys. That's gonna calculate it from the interior square footage and
Still-
what we included.
So you're using 2x6 walls. So if you take the 840 square feet and you take the 6-inch walls times the 28 and times the 30, minus the 15 for the offset in the bathroom, you come up with 796 square feet. That's what I come up with. One wall is 14 along the back for the exterior wall thickness. And if you subtract out the left-hand side wall thickness, I come up with 15 square feet for the wall thickness. Mitch, if you'd like to check my math, I would love it. I come up with 796 when I subtract out the exterior walls and I subtract out the little jog in the bathroom. I come up with 796. Now, if you want to get really nitpicky, I guess we could deduct the interior walls too. You know, if you really want to, you really want to do it.
Okay.
Because you're not, right?
Yes. Since you issue building permit, I defer to.
And again, we're not talking interior walls between the kitchen and bedroom. We're talking the interior wall between the kitchen and the non-in-law suite. I don't think we need, okay.
So.
All right, so C, Eric.
Yeah, the only concern I have with the square foot is the wall that's right out by that shared bathroom. All somebody's gotta do is put a door on it and they got a 3-bedroom apartment with a garage.
Right now they've got a 2-bedroom apartment with a garage.
There you go, 1, 2, 3,
Right.
because there's only one little doorway right there.
Well, they can modify the whole house, I mean, for that matter. I mean, the day after they move in,
You can put a door on.
actually permit, they could change this by 30 square feet. I mean, I think we have to go off the plans. I'm satisfied that it's 800 or less.
That's fine. What Brian calculated is fine. I was just,
No,
that's why I asked how it was calculated, because if you use the exterior, it's over.
All right, so C, there's parking where I think I'm just gonna breeze through these, but if we have any, want to talk about them, we can. The garage, is item C. The no more than one in-law unit per house. We only have one in-law unit, so that's D. E, what are we looking at here? This is the architecture of that should be similar to the adjacent residential neighborhood.
Well, I would, yeah, architecture of the residence shall be compatible with the adjacent residential neighborhood and shall appear to be a single-family residence. The principal living unit shall comply with all other applicable zoning district requirements, all other appropriate zoning district requirements for the principal living unit.
You
shall
said
be
the
compliant.
ACC for the subdivision for Oktoberfields, you got something from them.
Correct. Yep, I have their approval in hand. It's a very unique subdivision, like they allow outbuildings. There's a couple garages in that subdivision that have very different heights already for RV storage and stuff, so it's a very unique subdivision to begin with, just from a garage orientation structure. So it's definitely not singled out.
But this particular design with the in-law unit, it makes it look like a duplex.
So some of the design decisions weren't from once, it was just due to the constraints of the lot being pie-shaped and being limited from a garage pulling in versus having a 4 or 5 car garage that's front load or side load. It would have pushed the house too far back. We felt that the 3-car being courtyard like that, at least giving the front a true house aesthetic versus garage doors, was a better alternative than having 80% of the front of the house look like garage.
The fact that one garage is side entry and the
Yeah.
other's not, I think that helps.
Because like
That helps
the
a lot.
subdivision does allow up to, I think it was 800 or 1,000 square feet for an outbuilding. So the subdivision does allow for very unique garage structures already.
And they allow for, I mean, a lot of new subdivisions that are nicer don't allow for the garage to face the road. They allow that
Yep,
for.
they allow, correct. 2 houses to the right has front load garages.
Only one of the two is front load. I think that helps. How are we on that? I understand the concern.
I just think the way it's designed, it's made to look like a duplex, but if the others disagree, that's fine. I'm fine with
Mitch or
that.
Orin, is there anything in our code that says there can't be 2 garages on one structure?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
there's,
Cities in the village that have them.
I'm sure that
Uh,
aren't.
yeah, I would just say that the requirement regarding garages in single family homes is that there's a minimum size that you need to have for a garage of, I think, 440 square feet, is it, Brian?
Yeah.
So you have to have a
Pretty much-
minimum garage size.
Pretty much across all R1, 2, and 3 districts, 440 square foot minimum.
As far as a maximum to that, you're limited by meeting the setback, offset, and, lot coverage requirements for the zoning district. If they're all attached to the home. And then obviously if you're in a subdivision that has a deed restriction or architectural review committee, then you're subject to meeting their requirements as well, as far as the aesthetics of the place.
So the mother-in-law garage, is that considered a 2-car garage or is that a 1.5-car garage or?
Look like 2-car garage,
So we basically have
16 foot.
5-car garage.
5-car garage on the premise.
I mean, the only entrance into this suite, call it that, is through the garage.
And the common entrance.
The common entrance.
Front door.
Well, I'm trying to figure, I'm looking floor plan here. I guess they'd,
Through the hallway from the
yeah,
great room.
Which is the next
Yeah.
point on,
okay. Okay.
so item F is
Well,
common.
Can we, I would recommend, Mr. President, that up to this point, the consensus has been clear. On this one, I hear division, and so I think we should have a motion and vote whether they've met this standard. Because I hear people saying that it looks like a duplex, and it can't look like a duplex. The standard says it has to look like a single-family residence.
Are you recommending that we,
Just have a motion of, have they met the standard? Yes or no? That's my, I think we need to clarify, based on Act 67, whether this standard has been met or not.
It's hard to tell from their drawing because it looks, when you look at that, it looks like there's one garage because you don't see the bump out. So their exterior drawings hard to visualize.
Mm-hmm.
so I've never had a motion that isn't for action on the overall item, but we can,
It's, I think it's required in this case because, unless I'm wrong, I mean, we could take a straw poll. Do people, I mean, you could ask, do people think it is or it isn't met?
Does the left elevation that's up on the screen help? Because that does show what the side entry garage off of the front would look like, and you can see the east side of the front-loaded garage in that image as well. You can't see both garage doors at once, but at least you get the side view of the side-loaded garage.
I think the concern is when you turn it like 45 degrees, you're gonna see all 5.5-car garages. And they're gonna be separated with a house in between. So there's gonna be a garage and a house on one side, and there's gonna be a garage and looks like a house attached on the other side.
Well, I can tell you that I have seen other homes, single-family homes with more than one attached garage like this.
Separated with the house in between them.
Yep. It's all based on the limitations of the lot and meeting all the other requirements. So people put them where they can. I wouldn't say that that's common, but I have seen them. This isn't the exception.
they're added on after, the second one's added on after the fact.
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually,
Because no one ever has enough garage space.
right. And the other thing that I would say is that this isn't the most amount of parking spaces for attached garages that I've seen on a single family residence either.
But I've been through October Fields. I live very close to it. There are no other houses like this.
There
in
are
that-
4-car garages. There's ones with garage doors on the rear of the
There's
garage.
two cars, two two-car garages attached together. But there are none where the garages are separated like this.
So let's stick on this item here. Would there, if someone made a motion to, that this is, looks, architecture is not compatible with adjacent neighborhood and does not have the appearance of a single family residence, would there be a second to that? Would someone agree with that? So Sherry's would make the motion, would there be a second?
I would
And-
second it.
All right, so
I'm
then I guess let's go through the,
Not clear what that.
I'm sorry,
motion
no,
was.
no, so what I was doing a straw poll before I did the formal. So Sherry, why don't you make that motion then?
The motion would be that condition E is not met because it doesn't, because it does not appear as a single family residence.
All right, so
appears more
Sherry
as a
made the
duplex.
motion, Kurt, seconded the motion. We'll wait for Joe to come back before I vote on the motion, but is there? any-
Okay, hang on. Sherry, you said E. Are you referring to condition F, a common entrance to the resident?
No, condition E, architecture of the residence shall be compatible with the adjacent residential neighborhood and shall appear to be a single family residence. And I'm saying it does not meet the condition of appearing to be a single family residence.
F is similar to E, but I think F is more so regarding the front entrance and E is more so in this point.
Just wanted
regarding
to
the garage.
clarify which condition.
So Joe will fill you in. There's been a motion and a second to, that does not have appearance of a single family residence as a result of the garage.
Two garages, yeah.
Garages, yes. I understand the concern, but again, I don't think it's extremely unique and not other examples out there. Subdivision Association has approved it. I would not, I understand the concern, but I would be voting in favor of allowing it based on this item. I understand there's concerns. Do we want any other discussion before we vote on this?
I guess the only thing I would say is, Kurt is correct. There is nothing in this subdivision like this, and I spent a lot of time in October Fields because it's a new subdivision, but just coming to mind, there's one similar to this on Bittersweet Drive. There's another one that's very similar to this, and it's an in-law suite on Bonnie Lane. And I think that was approved, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know for sure. So I would probably vote in favor of this the way it is, because although we're supposed to be an architectural entity in this, I don't know that this 100% looks like a duplex. To me, a duplex would have 2 front doors and it would be symmetrical from the center of those doors. That's my interpretation. That doesn't mean, I'm not trying to speak for anybody else, but that's my interpretation. So I would vote against, I guess, I think I'm saying this right. I would probably vote against,
Denying based on
yeah,
this criteria.
yeah, her motion, sorry.
So I guess.
Finding problems.
I guess I would also maybe consider, I understand what your point is, but could there be a change to the design of the house where you make the 3.5 car garage a 4-car garage and use a common entrance? Because there's no door anyway separating the main part of the house from the mother-in-law suite, and eliminate that garage on that side of the house and just have a 4-car garage on one side and use a common entrance into the house where you could go into the mother-in-law suite and into the rest of the house. That would be possibly a compromise to the design that wouldn't make it look like a duplex then.
We really are not conducting an architectural review. This is, we have to consider what they've applied and whether they've met the standards, given what they've given us to review.
Yeah, so we could say, we're not in favor of this, but they could come back and say, well, we'll review that with the owners and see if that's a possibility.
They could come back they can come back, I think Kurt's point is they could come back with a new application with a redesigned house.
They could. If this were denied, but we have, it has to be based on this standard of whether this looks like this particular one. I think the issue is, does it appear to be a single family residence or not?
Sean, you've been quiet over there. Do you have anything you want to add before we take a vote here?
I'm just trying to digest all the information as it's coming in here. And as I've been kind of wavering back and forth, looking at the massive size of this. So that's what I've been doing. I was just kind of digesting all the information.
Have the clerk read the motion, so I'll make sure we all understand what it is.
So the motion is that the proposal does not meet condition E, which is spelled out on page 2 of the staff review.
A motion was made by Sherry and seconded by Kurt. Is there any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor of denying based on that, denying the,
Nope, not denying. You're
in favor of
voting-
that, in favor
you're
of that
voting
motion.
whether or
would
not
be-
that condition has been met.
So I vote means that you find this has not been met. A nay vote means you're not making that finding.
Everyone understands that? So based on the way the motion was worded, Sherry and you would anticipate Sherry and Kurt would vote aye.
Are we still in discussion or are we voting?
No, we are voting.
Okay, sorry. All right.
Just on this particular motion, right?
Just on this item.
Okay.
So I mean, is there any additional discussion before we have all right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Nay. I didn't hear, Sean, but I think it was a 2-5 vote. Is that correct?
Question about this. It's very simple.
I heard two,
Two ayes.
yeah, I heard 2 ayes. I just didn't hear, was anyone abstaining? All right, the motion fails 2-5. Item F, which is more in regards to the common entrance. This has one common entrance. So are we all on the same page? There's not a concern there? We'll move on to item G then. What is G here? Eric, have you looked ahead?
An interior door is not proposed. So the in-law suite is fully integrated.
What is the desire typically?
Who are you asking that of?
Well, how was the code written? Is there a code written that we would like that or don't, is it a positive to have it or not to have it?
I
guess
think it's a
it's-
positive to not have it.
Because it's
I
viewed
think
as-
the idea is if you have it, then it looks more like a duplex.
I think in the Dalla Piazza example in 2023, the Plan Commission approved an interior door in that instance. But again, they're all looked at on a case-by-case basis. And in this case, I think it'd be a good idea to just read into the record the petitioner's response for this one, which I'm willing to volunteer to do to
Go ahead,
spare
Ron.
the village attorney. That the in-law suite is fully integrated into the residence and is not separated from the principal living areas by interior doors, lockable barriers, or structural separation. The main floor plan flows continuously between the in-law suite and the remainder of the home, with all areas functioning as shared common family space. The lower level of the home is also designed as common shared space for the household. There is no foundation wall or structural separation dividing the in-law suite from the remainder of the residence at the basement level. All finished and unfinished basement areas are accessible as shared space and are intended for use by the household as a single-family unit. This interior configuration reinforces that the residence functions as one single-family home and that the in-law suite does not constitute a separate dwelling unit.
I think we're ready to move on if I don't hear any objection. H is regarding the deed restriction. I think that was handled pretty well earlier in the discussion. I is both units of the structure must have smoke alarms installed in working order. at final occupancy. And Brian, you obviously make sure that happens all the time anyways, right? J is the site plan and plan of operation is required in accordance with our village code.
In this case, Mr. Chairman, we believe that the plat of survey that was presented serves as a functional site plan for this proposal. Typically, single-family residential is exempt from the site plan of operation formal review and approval process, but as part of this CUP, they have provided that plat of survey, which I think serves that function.
Do I keep on going or is that?
There are general.
Those are the
There are
specific
general issues
Yep.
that, yeah, so I guess we keep on going.
The proposed conditional use shall comply with all regulations of the applicable zoning district in which it is located. We have the response here, and Oren, you said that, I mean, you agree it meets the zoning, right?
Correct. And there's a much more detailed response in the petitioner's submittal that I didn't include all of here. As far as how they believe this is meeting all of those other zoning district standards, which was very thorough. So it is in the packet for the plan commission to peruse at their leisure.
All right, the next is the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the proposed use shall not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, or general welfare.
Well, this is the one where we gotta get the 8/16 person septic.
It's related to this. We also had that earlier on the first condition. Yeah, they're gonna have to get that documentation.
So they bring that up here. That didn't necessarily have to be tied in right here, but it's, I mean, I think that was just. That's, yeah, we asked for that to be adjusted earlier, so. Is there anything else that would fit under that in general on anyone else's mind? Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of nods that we're all good. Item C, the proposed CU shall compatible with the character of the neighborhood. This is kind of similar to the other one, so I think.
One comment, it says utilities and infrastructure in the last one. There's only one electric meter, right?
Correct.
Right.
I'm just looking through this, I mean, they meet the minimum sizes for the garage, for the subdivision ordinance, or subdivision restrictions. There's a lot more here, is there? Am I ready to go on to page 6 and D, Eric, or am I?
Well, I think you can just say that you find it to be the standard to be met, and if they're if there's an objection, then you will have to have discussion, but otherwise you can move on.
All right, are we good on C? All right, so going to page 6 and D. Adequate measures shall be taken to provide ingress and egress, so designed to minimize the traffic hazards and traffic congestion on a public road. We looked at the site plan already. You see the petitioner's response. If there's no concerns here, I'll move on to E. All right, moving on to E, adequate off-street parking shall be provided to serve the proposed use. I think that we're very much not concerned there. F, the proposed use shall not be obnoxious or offensive by reason of vibration, noise, odor, dust, smoke, or gas. I'm guessing we have no concern there. If I'm going too fast, anyone can just stop me. G is the proposed use shall not injure the use of the property in the immediate vicinity for purposes of already permitted or diminish property values in the neighborhood.
Does anyone know if that brings values up or down? If you live next to? I don't have the answer to that. Just curious.
Well, we can only go on the evidence that was presented. We don't have any evidence either way, frankly, on that point, other than what the petitioner responded in this report.
I mean, the larger the house, the more it costs. This is a nicer subdivision. To begin with, the subdivision association has approved. It's, I mean, if they chopped off the 2-car garage and the 800 square feet, I mean, the property's gonna have a less value. So usually the higher the value, the more. So I'm not concerned there, but is anyone else?
We have no concern about the HOA or the ACC. It's none of our business. We have no say in that, so. Been through that enough times in my life.
The proposed use shall not impede the orderly development or improvement of surrounding property for uses allowed in the zoning district. I think we're good there. The public interest and welfare supporting the proposed use shall outweigh the individual interests that are adversely affected by this establishment of the proposed use. A little tricky one, but I think we're fine there, right? I mean, J, all other conditional use standards that identified in this section or elsewhere in the chapter are met. I guess this is kind of the catch-all. Is there any other concerns? Eric, did I do a good enough job going through all those?
I think so. So, under Act 67, you have found that all the standards have been met. You are therefore obligated to approve it. You can, impose reasonable conditions, and staff has recommended conditions. I would suggest, based on the earlier discussion, that we modify condition 5B. And I'll try to read what I scribbled here. I think where we landed is we would add, including a written acknowledgement from the county health department, which approves the septic system for all bedrooms shown in the plans.
That covers the concern, right?
Well, yeah.
Do you want to take away the word bed on that, all rooms shown on the plans? I mean, that, maybe that addresses that office / bedroom concern, if I'm hearing.
8 rooms, 8 bedrooms / 16 people.
No, I don't think we want to get into that. I think we just need a written acknowledgement from the county that the permit issued addresses the floor plan of the proposed structure. Period. Don't get into the details because we're gonna have to come back again to do this. It's all I would suggest.
But it effectively, your exact motion with taking out the word bedroom, right? So
Would it satisfy the plan commission to have Haley email me a confirmation from the county to that effect?
They're reputable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, should look.
Official.
Yeah, okay. We just need written proof from the county.
It's more than
through you.
reasonable.
So,
Yep, yeah. Haley, if you can just get that and email it to me, I can then forward it to the plan commission.
Absolutely.
you know where you live.
I have a question.
Right, sure.
Since our code reads, we can require a door separation or not require a door separation. They're proposing no door separation between the in-law unit and the main unit. Can we put a condition on that they cannot put a door separation there so that it does not look like a rental unit or be used as a rental unit? And that way, if the conditional use transfers to a future owner, that would be in there as well? Or is it getting
I'm
too
gonna
specific?
say, that if you have that concern based on the evidence that was presented, that this could be easily converted to a duplex, just by putting up a door, then yeah, you could add a condition like that. I don't know,
It
it would
this
be an
particular
unusual
one, it's just this
situation
particular
where
design.
we would ever know. And so enforcement would be questionable whether it would ever be enforced.
Asked.
But if it has if it comes to that, that would,
Right.
so I think that's a good,
I think enforcement would be neighbors' complaints if they see it, people coming in and out.
right. We're not gonna proactively go and
Uh,
check for the door, but if it,
Gives us
If
an out-
it- Yeah, if it sells and there's a door in place in the photos, or if there's, again, neighborhood complaints, that's when it would probably come into play.
Mhm.
All right, so with the change to 5B and then the addition of item 7 with the no door can be added between the two units, if you will. I think those are the main concerns. Is someone ready to make a motion?
Make a motion for approval as presented with the additions or modifications stated in 5B of the conditions and the additional provision that no door be established between the
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Rob, that's you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any additional discussion?
For the additional discussion, rather than using the term between the two units, since we don't want this to become two units, could we use between the in-law unit and the remainder of the single-family home?
I accept the modification and motion.
Thank you.
Second modification.
All right. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, motion carries 6-1.
Got it.
Was the nay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Didn't mean
Haley.
to keep you all late.
Oh, we didn't.
Thank you. Very thorough.
All right, we're on to Swiss Tech. Devin, is that you back there? I think do we meet on Zoom or we meet in person? I don't think we met in person. All right, sorry. All right, you can come on up. Item 6C is discussion or necessary action on the request of applicant Devin Pittman and Brian Building Corp. on behalf of Swiss Tech Coding for approval of a new site plan and plan of operation related to the development of the vacant parcel located along Richard Road, known as Lisbon tax key number 0241.999.009 in the M2 zoning district. Oren, you want to give us an overview here?
Yes, so this is, again, a site plan of operation for a permitted use in the industrial or M2 zoned portion of the Business Park East. This is the last available parcel. It is owned by the village currently. The proposal is for a new approximately 65,000 square foot industrial building to house the consolidated operations of a precision surface engineering company specializing in high quality physical vapor deposition or PVD coatings for tooling and wear parts. Currently, Swiss Tech Coatings has facilities in Pewaukee and New Berlin. Again, they would be consolidating both of those to this proposed new headquarters facility. In addition to the footprint of the first phase, which would be a two-story industrial building, they're proposing, they're showing on the plan a potential future expansion area of 34,500 square feet, which for the record would be subject to its own site plan and plan of operation amendment in the future when they would need that portion of the building. Approximately 78 off-street parking stalls. There's some overhead doors and 2 loading docks. The loading docks are on the west elevation, which would be the rear of the building. There's also a overhead door on the north elevation, which would be the north side of the building. There's a hydrogen storage enclosure, which is the only outdoor storage being proposed. That's also on the west side of the building, the rear. There's a dumpster enclosure, and this will have connections to sanitary sewer and municipal water. The overall drainage system is intended to drain into the village's regional stormwater basin, which is further east. I have the map up here of the area. So just on the other side of the Vermeer parcel off of Leeds is where the regional pond is. And there's a series of designed stormwater swales and easements that would facilitate getting the water from this point over to that regional pond. As far as the architecture of the building, I'm going to bring up the plans that were submitted, which include elevations. As you can see here on just the front page of their submittal, they're going for some pop or wow effect on the front of this building with this very nice corner feature on the southeast corner of the building. So that would be the main entrance that you're seeing there. So there will be kind of a two-story lobby area there, but there will be offices to the right of that along the front of this building. And then there's a mezzanine on the upper level to provide space up there for them as well. And then the production would be taking place in the back of the building, and there's warehouse space back there as well. The parking situation, most of the parking is being proposed up front. Here's another just quick elevation shot. I'll note that there's a parapet wall that will be blocking any of the roof mounted mechanicals. So as far as the types of materials being used and the overall design, this does have four-sided architecture. It seems to be meeting all of our requirements. Again, the parking is going to be up front and on the south end. We do have a condition in here that the petitioner just provide a parking calculation identifying how they're meeting the standard. The landscaping meets or exceeds the standard. The petitioner did provide a second submittal or resubmittal, if you will, of the landscape plan that identifies how they're complying with the point system for this area. Overall, this is within the gateway design area of the village because it's right on Sussex's doorstep. And so that was something that was agreed upon in the boundary agreement between the two communities prior to the incorporation, that those be upheld, and the petitioner has agreed to do that. That's one of the other conditions in FOT's staff review, that condition 3 states the developer shall comply with all parts of the village gateway design standards from Exhibit Q of the village's zoning code. Condition 4 states that the developer is solely responsible for ensuring the proposed project complies with any private restrictions, ergo covenants and easements that may apply to the subject property. And 5 reflects what I mentioned regarding the parking calculation. And then we've got one at 6 that says the facility shall be operated in a manner that complies with the applicable use regulations in section 8.034G of the village's zoning code. That particular section just is a reminder of nuisance uses, essentially, because this process involves chemicals. You know, we don't want there to be any odor or any noises or anything that any hazardous waste, anything that could be considered a nuisance. One of the benefits of this use being partially located in Pewaukee is that we share a common fire service with Pewaukee, and so our fire department has been inspecting their operations and will continue to do so at this new location. And so I think there's some comfort in that there's a familiarity with what these folks already do. As far as the chemicals / hazards, materials, solvents, which would be item J in the site plan review comments, that's where that recommendation comes regarding the nuisance use. So they've provided some in-depth background on what types of things will be present. And I don't doubt that the operation will meet that standard, but that's what resulted in adding that as a condition. So Devin Pittman is here from Bryan. She's the project manager for this. If there's any specific questions to her regarding the proposed building or the operations, and I'd be happy to help answer any questions for anything I might have left out.
Before we fire off at you, is there anything you want to add?
No, Orin did a great job of summarizing our presentation. So I appreciate that, Orin. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm concerned about that hydrogen storage. I would like to see five-sided security on that thing, so somebody can't get into it in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Right now it's, and I realize these aren't building plans. It looks like a dumpster. I mean, that's what the CAD guy drew here was a dumpster enclosure. I want to see security that nobody can get into that from the top, the front, the sides or whatever.
Yep.
I think when there's just too much of a chance of somebody doing what they don't want to do.
Right. We had a discussion this morning with the with Swiss Tech about this point exactly, because I knew that the Plan Commission would have comments about the security of the hydrogen, and it's governed under the National Fire Protection regulations. So that does require some bollards as well to avoid any traffic hitting it, as well as having security around it. I think at their existing facility, they have a cyclone fence around it with a barbed wire on top. So there's
I want to make sure there's something that somebody can't get over that and get inside it.
Yep.
I don't think you can enclose it fully, cause if you get a leak and it builds up in there.
No, it could be nothing more than chain link fence over the top of it. I just don't want somebody, not that this is gonna happen, but some semi-ambitious high school person who lives next to, goes to school next door, go, oh boy, there's a tank of hydrogen over there. Think what the rocket I can make out of that.
Mhm.
I just don't want that for your client and for anybody else. So I think that it doesn't have to be closed. It can be open. I just want that enclosure secure.
Yep. They are aware, and that is the intention.
Okay, good. Cause we'll put it as one of the conditions
Yep.
on there that are limited in there. And I know that if Brian says they're gonna do it, it's gonna get done. So,
Yeah, we'll do it.
yeah.
So are you agreeing to put a chain link top on this?
I need to
Sure.
check with the client because I'm not sure how their loading and unloading of that goes and like the logistical considerations surrounding this. So I'm gonna have to make sure with them, but I mean, you can put that as obviously as a condition to potentially have a,
Just increase security, five-sided security on the location of the hydrogen storage.
Yep.
And then you can take it from there and do whatever you've got to do it.
okay,
Cause what I was concerned about too is it may have to be tall enough to get a truck backed into there.
yep.
So whatever you've got to do it, I'm satisfied with you knowing what has to be done.
Yep.
Brighton's got a great record in this community and they do nice work.
Yeah, we want to maintain that
Yes,
reputation. Thank you.
that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
I did get a response from the fire chief. He was sent all the materials and I got a response this afternoon. He has no issues with the proposal, so.
So they reviewed it?
They reviewed it, they reviewed the access. I sent him the full packet and he looked at it and his response was he didn't have any issues.
So I guess I have a question about the second phase, potential second phase. And the current back of the building, would that affect where that hydrogen is currently being stored? And the access door that's back there, or would that be more in the middle? Where
I
would it
believe
stand?
it's planned that there will be kind of a notch out in that building at the top, I guess, planned north section of that. So you see that there's.
So where the hydrogen is being
remaining-
stored, that would remain there?
Sheet C1, it shows where the proposed or the possible future expansion. And you'll see there's around the hydrogen storage and the access to that door that you're talking about is maintained.
But it also makes it a little more secure when it's in that little indentation there.
Right, and Golly knows when the time.
Well, to me, it looks like, I understand what you're saying, but the expansion is in dotted lines. And it looks like it goes right off, that would be the northwest corner.
Well, they're gonna be back here if and when that ever happens, and we can, at least my opinion, we can address it at that time.
Yeah.
Cause the stormwater is gonna have to be readdressed also if this expansion takes place.
Okay.
All right, and Mitch, you had something on here. Anything you wanted to highlight on that?
Joel just kind of mentioned it. So with, sorry, excuse me. So yes, with their future expansion, with the regional pond where it's at today and what their build out's going to be in this phase one, everything is fine with regards to the stormwater management, but in the future phase, they exceed the curve number that we have that regional pond designed for. So they're gonna have to do some type of on-site, mitigation with some type of a small detention pond of some sort. It could be handled in a maybe bioswale or something of that sort, so.
Yeah, and if I can respond to that, we did also discuss that in anticipation of this meeting and up to, I believe, the threshold is a 30,000 square foot. The calculation, I believe, is about 30,000 square feet we can add on without needing any additional stormwater. So there's the delta of 5,000 square feet basically that we have to accommodate for, which I think that we can do so between the flow prevention and some like maybe roof detention and limited detention basin. But there is room on the west side of the plan to also be able to locate stormwater if necessary.
The one item on here, you've got the maximum number of employees of 75 at any given time. You've got 78 parking stalls. I know Oren's comment about the more detail on the parking calculation, but just those two numbers, and then with some of those being laid out as kind of parallel stalls in front of the building, just sound like, I mean, again, and then it's not gonna be too often where everyone's gonna show up and you're gonna have guests, but it has the potential of being a little bit tight.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. And they do some of their staff is sales too, so they're just not always in the office
Sure, okay.
or
All
on
right.
site.
Can we just underscore, so that so there's no question and show in the minutes that we're approving phase one. We're not taking any action on phase two. We see it noted on your plans, but that would need a new approval.
Yep.
Glad to see it too.
So we'll wait.
All right. So are we ready for a motion? And I guess to Eric's point, I mean, it's implied but not explicit, so let's make sure that we make that point when making the motion.
Phase two is not being presented, so you're only voting on what's being presented in your packet.
With also to the addition for the hydrogen that Joe.
Can you speak up or?
Sorry. Would this also include the requested modifications that Joe's brought up for hydrogen storage?
That'll be part
Yep,
of the.
I've got a 5-sided security for hydrogen storage tanks as an added condition.
What does 5-sided?
A top.
Again, and you're not, I mean, again, if the fifth side is addressed with barbed wire, which is kind of what your response was that I don't know that agrees with the intent with it that Joe is making here. So I want to make sure that we don't have an intent and then you don't meet it and then we're back here next month
Yeah.
and we get delayed.
Just 5-sided security. That's all needs to be done. They can implement whatever needs to be done. That'll be.
Yeah.
So the fifth, so I want to make sure I understand. Is that
the top?
that there has to be a top or the top has to be protected?
No, 5-sided security. That's right, left, front, back, top. That's 5 sides.
He's saying
Well,
it's
I
a
guess-
main link, it just has to
It
be.
can be whatever they need to do from an operational standpoint.
We want a roof on it.
Right.
But what if the conclusion is they can't comply with NFPA if there's a top on it, even if it's chain link? Or their operations don't allow for that. They can't bring in the.
I would leave it to the discretion of the building inspector whether or not you comply with the motion.
Or the fire department?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
you have
he's
to-
gonna follow the fire department.
Yeah,
so-
you're gonna have to get that approved anyway, because fire department's not the only entity involved in your hydrogen storage.
Sure.
So,
And I'm sure that your client has dealt with this before at
Yeah.
their other plants.
Yeah.
So I just don't wanna make a rule that says you have to have a roof, make it more
No,
unsafe.
no, I
to
didn't
keep
say
it
roof.
in.
yeah, you might not be able to have a roof because of
Yeah.
ventilation or.
Yeah. Oh, I don't mean a roof,
Or
but a
off
top on
capping.
it. You want
Off capping.
something on the top.
Don't
We
want
will,
somebody to come in.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Good understanding. There's nothing, I think we all now understand
Prevent top.
that. So it's secured somehow that,
Well, would it be okay would this satisfy you if it said five-sided unless it can't have a obstruction on the top, in which case it would have to have security to prevent access to the roof as
You know,
efficiently as
I
possible.
understand what you're saying, Eric, but I don't think we need to get into that amount of detail because I'm sure that the conditional use ordinance in our zoning code.
This is my
says
conditional use.
You'll have to comply with the regulatory agencies, whether it's NAPFA, the fire department, police department, everybody else, whatever, whoever ends up at the top of the heap, that's the rules we gotta follow.
So
I just don't wanna put it in a position where you've gotta come back for approval of something that we have no authority over anyway. All I'm saying is five-sided security, and I think that
to the extent that it doesn't, go afoul of any other regulation.
regulatory agencies,
Okay.
which is a defined term.
Make it safe so no kid can get into it.
I mean, the barbed wire is securing from the top in a interpretation. of-
Arguably, yes.
I
So-
don't wanna design the thing for them.
Yeah.
It's not our purview to do that. I just want security. Period.
Well, what if somehow we have to reduce this to words on paper? And I wonder if it would work to say that the hydrogen storage shall be secured to the satisfaction of the fire chief and the building inspector.
Okay, if you can live with that, that's fine. I trust you. I know where you live.
All right, I think
Okay.
we've,
Ready for a motion?
yeah, I think so.
I'll make a motion, the Village of Lisbon Planning Commission approves the site plan of operation request for Swiss Tech Coatings Inc. for the property located at W23N6330 Richard Road, subject to the following condition, or the planner's comments and conditions. And that the hydrogen storage be adequately secured.
To the satisfaction of the
To
fire
the
chief. and the
satisfaction of
building
fire
inspector.
chief and building inspector.
Good deal. Got it.
There's a second to that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, Joe seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Patience. Welcome your company to the village. We'll take 20 more whenever you're ready.
More land.
We'll get to that. We're working on it. Thank you.
Item D is discussion and necessary action regarding feedback for the focused area 1 for sewer service area amendments. Orin, you're gonna walk us through this, right?
Yes, so as part of our ongoing discussions with the village of doing an extension of the sewer service area, the engineers at FOAF did a preliminary focus area, if you will, general study. The idea is to have several of these focus areas throughout the village. We're starting in the southwest due to the imminent needs of the school. / this fire station, which are both on a force main that needs attention frequently as far as maintenance. And so also this is being looked at because of just from a timing standpoint. The road is going to be redone in the near future. This area still has undeveloped land in the village. When we did our first go of a comp plan update, which was part of the incorporation effort back in 2021/22, the staff prepared at that time some land use plan amendments, but those did not contemplate the potential service of sewer to this area outside of what had, already been approved. So when you look at what has gone into this from the engineer's standpoint, I won't get into the details of how they go about their calculations. There's going to, the details of this should be looked at more thoroughly by the Public Works and Sanitary Committee. So the second map has more of those details. It has the topography of the area on it, and it gets into some of the capacity and then all the calculations, all the homework of how these things were figured out. For what we want the Plan Commission to focus on is the idea of the land use in this area and the appropriateness of that land use, contemplating the idea of a potential extension of sewer to this portion of the village. So I think what the engineers have tried to convey is what could be serviced by gravity, without having to do a bunch of lift stations, essentially. The path of least resistance, if you will. So the potential sewer shed boundary is the hard pink line around the outside of this. That's not a final location for that. That's a first blush, if you will, that will be finessed and potentially tweaked. One of the things that has come up already is including whole parcels versus cutting parcels in half. So this might reflect a portion of a parcel that could potentially be served by gravity sewer, given the lay of the land as it is. But that whole parcel might be included in the sewer service area in spite of only part of it being able to be served by gravity sewer in the future. So keep that in mind. The takeaways that I want this group to focus on from the memo provided by both are on the last page. So 3.1 to 3.4. Review established development / neighborhoods and advise on likelihood of sewer service, reserve capacity or delete from sewer consideration. 3.2, any potential development areas requiring sewer service. 3.3, any undeveloped areas that require or could support sewer service. And 3.4, any high density, high water use development areas desired for FA1. So the map, focus area 1, Richmond School area land use map, has the land use, the existing land use layer turned on. And for most of this area that is currently developed, the prevailing land use is low density residential. That's the 20,000 square foot to 1.4 acre per dwelling unit, which is pretty normal throughout the village. A lot of that has average 1 acre lot densities. The other predominant would be the suburban density 1.5 to 2.9 acres of area per dwelling unit. If the village is going to extend sewer to this area, the first question, is there capacity to do that the answer is yes. The pipe at 164 and K can accommodate quite a bit of capacity. So there's an amount that was agreed to in a boundary agreement between the municipalities. And then there's the ability of that to handle even more, should there be a different amount agreed upon in the future. And so when this was prepared for the parcels that are already developed, the existing land use was used. And for parcels that are undeveloped, the assumption was the low density residential land use, which is potentially more intense than what could be out there today as a land use.
Large range, or in.
But given that, what do you mean?
So which end of the range did you use?
The 20,000 to 1.4 acre, the low density for
Would you use
an undeveloped, if it was an undeveloped parcel, even if it's currently planned for suburban density, this assumes the low density because we don't want to be under what could potentially happen.
Assume 20,000 square foot lots or 1.4 or the midpoint.
It uses that range, if you will, and so it could handle the low end of that. But the thing to keep in mind is that when looking at this, you have to assume something for the undeveloped areas. And if we're going to keep the areas that are planned for suburban density residential, it might not make sense to extend a sewer to this area. You know, I would say again that the prevailing development pattern of subdivision that's out there has that low density land use. So one of my questions again, and one of the things that we're asking for in this report, is could the undeveloped areas support sewer service? And I think the assumption in here is that if the Plan Commission was amenable to a greater density for those undeveloped areas, then yes, they could be. If we keep the suburban density, I don't think it's going to make sense for the village to extend sewer for 1 acre plus size lots. If one is the smallest that they're going to end up being. And so, what's the village's comfort level? What do you potentially envision being developed out here? Aside from single family, when we look at, are there redevelopment sites? I think the only true redevelopment site would be the vacant former carousel parcel across the street here. That was a commercial site that's vacant. And we've entertained some folks for what could fit there. It's such a tight site that would definitely benefit from sewer because the amount of space that they have is limited. And so if they didn't have to accommodate a septic system, then that would save space for the development of that site. As far as anything else that could be developed that might be high density or high water use, we did have one of the owners of the parcel immediately to the west of Sussex's business park on K. A real estate agent on behalf of that family had inquired about industrial for that parcel, seeing as it was next to an existing industrial park. That's not what it's currently planned for. It's currently planned for suburban density 1 residential. We also had a developer reach out to the village for a planner appointment to discuss the potentiality of a single family subdivision on that property. And they were interested in a low density residential for that. They thought they could make something work from a subdivision standpoint with the low density as opposed to the current suburban density for that specific parcel. So in my time here at the village, those those are that parcel and those things are the main developments that have been contemplated for this area outside of, the things that this commission's probably more familiar with than me, which would be the potentiality of finishing off, the existing, subdivision across the street here, which, Arrowhead Heights, I believe it is. Arrowhead Highlands, maybe. There's more to be developed there as part of that. So really what we're looking at and what we're asking are these 3.1 to 3.4 items. So the only high density, high water use development that I'm aware of that has been contemplated is the potentiality of the east half of that parcel over near Sussex's existing industrial park, because somebody has asked about that previously.
And I'm glad you differentiated, because it's effectively a 79-acre parcel right now, and it would be, if we did change it, I would envision only changing the land use plan on the eastern half. There's a tree line there, that would be for the industrial use.
Yeah.
I think the terrain of the western portion.
It's steep over there.
Is going to have, it's more appealing for single family residential.
Yep, I would agree. It's probably the flatter part on the east is probably the only portion that could handle a building like that. So these are the kind of questions, is just what's the plan commission's appetite for this area? What would you potentially consider? And would you consider land use plan amendments at all in this area would be the first question. Then, and if so, what, to what? The other type of land use that's out there for residential is the medium density. There's not a lot of medium density residential areas in the village. If you look at the range of potential lot sizes for that, it's 6,000 to 19,000 square feet. So smaller lots, right?
A little misleading. I think for Lisbon, the low end of the low density would be considered high density.
On average, I would agree with you. I would say though that there's pockets where this exists, but that would definitely not be the norm. So
I think your earlier point, I mean, if we were at 1.4 acre lots or 1.5 acre lots, that the numbers don't make sense for sewer. I mean, no one's gonna wanna, if you're gonna have sewer, you're gonna need to give density. And I think your question to the commission and then later to the board would be, is there an appetite for increased density? If I'm right, that's kind of your question?
Yep.
Well, keep in mind too, Highway K all the way to Lindale is gonna be most likely be 4 lanes at some point too. So that might trigger a different type of land use on that Highway K parcel, at least the eastern half.
And I think there's going to be a roundabout at where Lindale tees into that,
Yep.
correct?
Yep. So you're going to see increased traffic, which might warrant a light industrial or matching uses to Sussex, at least as the chairman discussed in that half of that parcel.
One of the unique things is that the way that development was done in Sussex, there can't really be an interior connection to that existing industrial area as it's currently laid out. They have a stormwater pond on the south end of that, and there's a road that ends in a cul-de-sac. So
On the southern portion of that parcel, everyone knows where we're looking here,
I can bring it up on the screen.
where the
too.
Lisbon Road is written, just to the west of the pink line. So the southern portion of that parcel is, you have it shown as other lands to be preserved, and like you said, Sussex has a retention pond there. The northern portion is that environmental corridor? I mean, there's not a.
It's like a nice isolated natural resource area. Yep.
Okay, so is there a sufficient room to do a 200,000 square foot industrial building or whatever it would be
You
back
can
there?
build on other open lands to be preserved.
Yeah, the other open lands to be preserved means that there could be something related to groundwater, soils.
Most likely very high groundwater.
So if that's the case, an industrial building doesn't need a basement, it's probably not a concern. But those are things that without further soil testing being done, we don't have an answer to whether or not that could be used. The way that the land use plan addresses other open lands to be preserved is that the default is the adjacent land use after they've proven that there's no concerns with the, as far as the soils, the depth of groundwater, other environmental features like wetlands, et cetera. So once those other hurdles have been proven to not be issues, the adjacent land use prevails.
You're gonna pull up that aerial or that map?
Yeah, bear with me just. a second.
So we're doing that. I mean, that's an area that I've, for the last, however many, 10 months have identified as making sense for a change. I don't see a lot else here. I know maybe others do. I mean, you talked about just to the west of here. I mean, when that airport communication thing goes away and the subdivision's expanded, I mean, is there an appetite to have 20,000 square foot lots there? Okay, Sherry's saying no, and Kurt's saying no, and I say no, so that's three of us. I mean,
By doing that though, you're not gonna have any sewer. In the discussion, you cannot extend sewer to an area this big and put in large lots. It is not economically feasible. You'll never get a sewer in Kane.
I mean, I think, I would agree with that. I mean,
It's not going. You're not, I mean, you cannot put acre lots on sewer. It just won't work.
so I'm open to the 20,000 square foot lots on the western portion of the Pew Farm, which was what Orin was talking about here, this being industrial, but I don't think a lot of us are open. Well, I'm not saying everyone's open to that, but I'm saying I am. I don't have many other areas where I would go 20,000 square foot lots.
Why would you want to put 20,000 square foot lots there?
Why would I? Why wouldn't I?
Why would you?
Well, to Joel's point, you need to have lots that small to,
Get sanitary sewer to Richmond School.
I understand the need to get it to the school, and that's an unfortunate problem that we have. But I don't want to see a detriment to our village by putting in small lots just to get water to the school.
Everyone likes,
Water, excuse me.
everyone
sewer.
likes the
Yeah.
village because of the lot size. It's the large 1 acre lot sizes, right? If we start doing what Sussex done on Silver Spring off of Mary Hill, it looks terrible. We don't want that in Lisbon.
Well, those are a lot smaller.
Well, I understand,
Perfect.
but there's sewer water, there's smaller lots, very high density development.
But you don't need that to get sewer, was what I'm getting at. We're going from one extreme to the other. I'll give you an example why,
Those are 20,000 square foot lots.
no, they're smaller than that. My son lives there.
Mm.
They're not much bigger than the size of this room. And you can stand between the buildings and touch the houses just about.
I think there's a transition there. There certainly are small lots, isn't there? Well, anyways,
Either way, my thing would be at least an acre, I'd wanna see. Maybe somewhere down by the industrial park for industrial use, but not homes.
is there a transition though, if we put, can you put that map back up, Warren, and?
Yep.
We've approved subdivisions that are approximately an acre lot. Some of are slightly smaller than an acre, some are slightly larger than an acre. It depends on how it all maps out.
We've done
But it's
conservative
around an acre.
subdivisions where there's a little bit smaller lots, but they have a whole lot of open green space.
Lots are less than an
Yeah,
acre.
but the density is still,
The
is
density, overall
greater than an
density is-
acre, but the lot sizes are smaller than an acre.
Barnwood, I think most of those lots are 3/4 of an acre.
Mitch, I had something I wanted to talk to you about. I'll maybe give me a call in the next day or two when you got some time.
I mean, Richmond School isn't the only reason to put sewer out into this area. I'll give you a prime example. Mountain Shadows. Mountain Shadows is a very old subdivision. It's from the late 60s, early 70s when it started. The systems in Mountain Shadows are failing or failed already. The on-site systems. The most economical way to replace those systems is with sanitary sewer up in that area. Eventually, it will be needed because it's gonna cost the people who live up there a lot less to be on sanitary sewer than to replace their systems. And Mountain Shadows isn't gonna change. Those lots aren't gonna turn into 1 acre lots or anything else you see. They're large lots already.
I was gonna say they're
They're barely the size that you can put in a replacement system, and those replacement systems will most likely cost significantly more than putting in sanitary sewer.
I mean, I don't know if those numbers, I mean.
I disagree. I think if you ask the people in Mountain Shadows, they're gonna
Everybody
disagree
else
with you.
that gets a sewer.
They're not,
So, Orin, what are the options then if we can't come up with a density that warrants sewer? What's the option for the school then? Do we just replace the force main with a new force main?
That's one option.
Or is there an option where it's not the pipe from the school down to 164 and K, which serves us here, the school, the carousel, and the other undeveloped lands towards that direction? It's sized differently or it's planned differently, but there's still sewer that goes that route.
Sure, I would say that when you're proposing a sewer extension like this, Sewer PAC wants you to think comprehensively about the entire, we would need to rationalize why we've chosen what we have and excluded other areas. And if there's other areas that are undeveloped, why not include those areas? And like Joe mentioned, if there's areas that are older that have a potential of having failing septic systems, why not include those areas to provide the option? So when we talk about a sewer service area, that doesn't mean that people are forced to have sewer within that. It doesn't mean that sewer has to be extended to those people. There's an option to do it. So the area that's shown here would be the area that could potentially be served. And again, it comes down to that agreement with Sussex, what kind of capacity is available in the pipe that's existing. And, our pipe on this end would be built to a certain depth and to handle a certain capacity. If we change the areas and make the sewer, the overall boundary of the sewer shed smaller, then the capacity need goes down and it can be met with what's shown, and it would be met in spades if it gets smaller, essentially, as far as the capacity issues are concerned.
So the argument that Joe, you and others make is include the area as large as you can so that you have the ability to serve those properties. But yet we're not having a requirement that people hook up in that area.
That would be a separate policy. So the financial issue, you can have a policy regarding deferment of payment and hookup associated with something like this, but that would be a little further down the road than what we're talking about now. As far as this initial study, we're looking at what could be served, and now our conversation here is what should be served. And then if it's going to be served, how? And so, one of the things that had come up, why would you do 20,000 square foot lots? To answer the question about the development in Sussex, there's as small as potentially 10,000 square foot lots within that. So those are smaller than what we're talking about. But one of my responses would be housing. So everything going on in my profession is around, currently, all the buzz is around housing, the lack of it, and housing affordability. One of the ways to make housing more affordable is to have a smaller lot, because part of the cost of building a home is the price of the lot. The lot's going to cost less if it's a smaller lot. The other consideration when talking about housing is you know, what's the entry point for folks? In my experience, one of the ways that this is being looked at in the region, in Washington County, they have a next generation housing program where they're setting targets for pricing to try to lower the threshold, the entry point, if you will, and reduce barriers to people for buying their first home. So, as part of their strategy, you know, what they consider to be a target is under $420,000. And they've got a certain amount, a certain percentage that they want to be even lower than that. So they're
New construction,
for new construction,
all in.
all in, lot and home. And so that's just a snapshot of one area. But some of the examples of things that they've done, so that program has partnered with the village of Jackson, and they've created a subdivision there. Harbor Homes did the single family component of that, and I think they did some twin homes as well. And those all were intended to meet that target. And so, you know, smaller lots, what they're considering to be quote affordable, you know, and again, that's just under 420,000, which is still not anything to shake a stick at. But these are the conversations that are happening regionally around housing and nationally around housing. One of the other ways that this is being talked about, we had a item before the Plan Commission tonight for an in-law unit. At the state legislature, they're talking about accessory dwelling units as another way to address housing. And some ways that other communities and other states have looked at that is preempting zoning so that, you know, more than one dwelling unit is allowed in single family. So that's happened in Minneapolis and in California at the state level, and it's being looked at other areas.
Now legal in Oconomowoc.
Okay.
Some municipalities have adopted it.
And Madison has adopted allowing duplexes in single family. So there's all different kinds of ways the communities are looking at, you know, addressing housing and housing affordability. And one of the ways to do that is through density. Another way is to reduce the minimum size that you allow for a home. So those are some of the things that people look at just through my lens as someone who does zoning administration and planning.
But from someone who's lived in the area her entire life, people don't want to move to Lisbon because they want urban. They don't want small lots. They like the rural atmosphere of Lisbon. And if we have to go to small lots just to fix a sewer problem, I think we're doing a detriment to our village.
I don't think we're.
I was gonna say, there's no sewer problem here. We're talking about an opportunity. There's an
Well, there's a sewer
opportunity.
problem at the school.
There is at the school, but that has nothing to do with, housing currently. I think maybe the problem at the school is that there's not a lot of users on that line.
We also have a huge school population problem in this area where the schools can't handle the growth Sussex has put into them. And again, going to smaller lots is only going to accentuate that and be a detriment to what Lisbon has always held to be, which was a more rural atmosphere.
I'm not really in for anything on smaller lots. I don't have any interest in that.
Well, there's an interest in the village of getting sewer expanded. Right now we have sewer in certain parts of the village, but we are limited in the number of customers. And when you limit the number of customers, we have capacity in the sewer plant, but we don't have the way to use it. And so by getting more customers, you're expanding the ability to spread those costs associated with having that sewer capacity. So right now, all of the expenses going onto the current sewer users, which is, you know, call it 450, with expenses that will continue to get bigger as we are sitting on capacity that we're not using. So yes, we should look at areas where sewer makes sense. As a village, I think it's part of our responsibility to provide public utilities where they should be, where they're warranted. The school is just one problem, you're right, but it's a problem that we can solve multiple problems with by addressing it. So it's not just that. And the small lots, I mean, that's completely on the Plan Commission and Village Board, but there's also a cost to the village by having 1 and 1.5 acre lots. You're putting 150 feet of road in front of each of these lots that we have to maintain, that we have to replace, as opposed to 75 or 80 feet of frontage where you're getting 2 homes and double the taxpayers, where I don't have my highway supervisor saying, hey, I need 1 extra guy because we just approved a lot that has 1.5 miles of roads in it with only 50 homes on it. So there's a lot more than just, no small lots in Lisbon. There's a large component, and it's going to continue for years.
But me as a homeowner and a taxpayer, we understood that when we purchased or built our houses, that our taxes are going to be at a certain level or higher because of that density. And we accepted that.
But
I think if you would have a
raise
public hearing with Mountain Shadows, which is being proposed, that they may want sewer, I guarantee you would fill this place up with objection to having sewer brought in and them having the responsibility to pay for that hookups in the future.
And Kurt, I would agree with you that I think people with an existing home don't necessarily want to, that have a functioning septic system, don't want to hook up to sewer. But what we're talking about is the availability of it in the instance of those failing. And I think you'd have a different response if it was more than one household in a subdivision with a failing system, and you're looking at replacing it with a $30,000 new mound system. Like, let's say you go to sell your home, and as part of the sale, there's a condition that the septic be looked at, and maybe
But you also said that
it
the
needs to be
homes
replaced.
in Sussex, the lots were cheaper than the lots in Lisbon because of their small size. That's not true. They're fully developed lots. You're spending $200,000 for one of those small lots. I bought my lot for $85,000. It's an acre. And I know it's not that today, but there's still like probably about 100. They're not any more expensive or any more less. They're fully
The
developed.
Oktoberfields lots, it would be a better example, and those went for a lot more, but I think those we're looking at, $1 million houses there. So if we're getting half the density, but $1 million houses versus double the density and $500,000 houses.
Hillside Ridge, the lots, unimproved lots were selling for around 140 to 160, and they were close to they're an acre density.
And those lots on Richmond over by Highway 164, just northwest of the industrial park there, that small little area that was developed.
Oxford Hills, I think. it
Yeah,
is.
those lots were going for over $200,000. They're not cheaper. And I understand you gotta take the total cost, right? Because you're paying, now you're getting sewer hookup and you're getting water hookup. And when you have an undeveloped lot, you have to pay for a mound system and a well. I understand that. But they're not cheaper lots. There's proof of that.
So, Orin, to your point, if we're saying, we're estimating, $30,000 for a replacement mound. Maybe that's in the right ballpark. Are we thinking that if someone was to have to hook up to sewer, that it would be substantially less than that?
The reason it's going to be less than that is it's going to be that or less, but it's the end of the problem. Mounds and conventional septic systems don't have they die and they need to be replaced, and they need to be replaced. When we did the sewer studies, we figured 20 years. Yeah, it's 20 years. So the replacement cost right now for a system is around $30,000. 20 years from now, it's going to be not less than 30,000.
So you're saying sewer hookup would be less than that?
Sewer system, it depends upon the area. Mountain Shadows will probably be less than that because there's monies available for existing on-site systems that are failed. That's not the same as new undeveloped. When you're talking about what's in Vista Run, those lots were not $200,000.
I'm just thinking of the people along Good Hope that were moved into, annexed into Sussex and have to hook up for, they were talking 40,000 to
But
connect
that-
up.
Yeah, but that's the connection fee and everything else, but it's the end of the problem. I hook up, it's just like having municipal water versus a well. You think that well's gonna last forever? It's not. You're gonna have to replace the darn thing.
My
And
water
it's
is
same-
10 times better than Sussex's municipal.
I know the cost.
That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, escrow
The
account
fact
for
of the
27
matter
minutes.
is, once you're hooked up to
Where it needs to
municipal municipal services, that's the end of the problem. Because you don't have.
Kind of.
You're paying for it every month.
Yeah.
You're paying for it every month and you're
You don't
responsible
think you're
for the
paying for
lateral.
your septic system every month?
Orin,
So what,
Actually, I don't want to cut it off too soon because I think this is a discussion that needs to be had. I mean,
yeah, and nobody, just so you know, what we wanted was a discussion and any feedback that we could get from the plan commission. We don't need any specific action taken by the plan commission tonight. Ultimately, we're going to be revisiting other areas, like I mentioned, around the village and having similar conversations around land use and the potentiality of sewer extension to those areas. And so we started with this area, but we will be talking about density in other areas as well. So what I wanted to point to was an area in the village along Town Line Road, centering kind of around Plainview, that has existing sewer service and has 30,000 square foot lots. So it's not that this development pattern doesn't exist in the village, that it would be a unicorn if it were to occur in this portion of the village. It does exist. The question is just, so, I mean, this would be in the same type of density category.
That's a density you're talking
But
about
it's-
from the 60s and 70s. That
Well-
subdivision's quite old.
But it's not it exists other places today. It happened here in the sixties
Well,
or
I'm saying
seventies.
this
So I guess,
really
yes,
Is.
it was in the sixties or seventies, but it is sewered. It exists. It's part of the community and it's desirable, right? People buy those. So I just want to point out that it's not that it doesn't exist already somewhere in the village. You have it. And the reason it's in that area is because that sewer was available in that area.
Orin, I have a question.
Sure.
So what happens if if everybody here says, no, we're not doing it? End of story. What is the repercussions of that?
We could do a straw poll and that would be helpful direction. Ultimately, it won't be this body's decision. This is going to be a policy decision by the board. We're looking for direction and probably a recommendation from this body. But this will also need to be reviewed at the committee level for the DPW and sanitary committee.
So what would happen then if we would recommend the board to scrap this? What's the repercussions for the future of the village in this particular case? Not like the whole village.
For this area?
Yeah, like if we recommended, no, we're not doing it. We don't like it. We want big lots. We want 5-acre lots everywhere and no sewer anywhere.
We would pass that
What would
along
happen
and the powers that be would take that into consideration in deciding whether or not to move forward with this sewer study and potential extension of sewer in this area. And then, again, we'd still have to have the conversations of the other areas within the village.
Then I have another question. And if you did already say this, I apologize. What are we talking about in this, for focus on area 1 here, this maroon area?
Yeah.
Approximately how many acres, if you know, how many acres are undeveloped?
I don't have an exact figure for you, but we can prepare that and come back with an answer to that.
Are you able to make a guess? Because
The comp sheet, but if anybody can read those numbers, I can't, I'm too bold.
and the reason I'm asking that question is because
No,
Oh,
the other
that's-
sheet, no.
if it's not,
The one that nobody can read?
Right.
if it's not that large of an area and there's not that many acres, why can't it be mixed in with the rest? So I'm trying to play devil's advocate both ways here. If it's, I don't know, 600 acres and the whole
I
area.
don't think it's that much, but without adding it up, I mean, it's simple enough to get the number. The comp has been done already. And it's on that sheet that we've got it, just picking out the right numbers and adding them
I
up.
don't see anything that
But
says.
one thing you
acres.
have to consider is, once this pipe goes in the ground, it's not gonna get bigger. So whatever land use is decided by the Village of Lisbon, that's the way it's going to be from now forever. And I'm not exaggerating. That's the way it is. The pipe doesn't expand. So as an example, if the Village of Lisbon, the town at the time, bought this capacity from Sussex for that pipe that's sticking out by the Quick Trip down on K and 164. They paid for that. We all paid for that. That capacity, if it's not used, is just money spent that we can't get any use of. Once that pipe is extended for whether it's just for Richmond or a couple of acres next to the existing business park, that's the end of it. We get one shot at doing this. What this, whatever color you want to call it, pink line represents is the opportunity to be used, that capacity that Lisbon bought from Sussex. If it's not going to be utilized and that's the way it's decided, so be it. But you can never change it. It's done. And you've taken the possibility of anybody ever doing anything. And that's what has to be considered.
But then I have a question. So if they would designate this, you're saying we don't necessarily have to use it, but we have to designate it.
Right.
Our
You
code
can-
reads if it's property, undeveloped property is within a sewer area, developers can put in smaller lots.
No, that isn't it. A pipe is made a certain size based upon some assumptions
Right.
of what the densities are, Sherry. It's the best educated guess that can be done. That doesn't dictate that this area over here around the VOR is gonna be 10,000 square foot lots.
So I'm saying, but our zoning code says if it's the land is in a sewer, an area that can offer sewer, our code reads, they can be smaller lots.
If they're served by sewer, I believe is
If
what it
served
says.
by sewer and they're zoned for that.
They can be, but they're not required to be,
Right, so when we talk about the land use, we're talking about the availability of somebody to rezone to something with a particular density. So the land use prescribes the tolerable range, and then the zoning dictates what that'll end up being. And you're correct, Sherry, the zoning districts do have a minimum lot size listed for unsewered and a minimum lot size for sewered. And so, at the current prescription for these areas that are suburban density, we couldn't accommodate the R1 or R2 that allow for that potential 30,000 square foot lot.
But do we have to? Now, I guess I'm just looking at these farther western areas where you.
Land use has to be,
Desirable to have larger lots. If they're within this sewer designated area.
as an example, October Fields had low density as the land use. They ended up developing that as 40,000 square foot lots. That's with, the average was,
Right, but it
One-
wasn't within an area that was designated for sewer.
that's actually in this area, yeah. But they beat our conversation about sewer, it happened. The development occurred. There's been other development in this corner of the
Hillside
village.
Ridge was an example, was that they were in the sewer area, an area where they could provide sewer, but they didn't want to spend the cost to extend it to there. So they went with larger lots.
Arnwood Conservancy has 30,000 square foot lots.
Yeah, pretty much any of the areas that are orange on here that have that R2 are gonna have probably 30,000 square foot lots. So there's a lot of those that are in this area. They aren't necessarily served by sewer currently.
And the reason I was asking, how much land is undeveloped is trying to just kind of get an estimate for how much area would be smaller, and it almost appears by looking at the map that it would be mixed in. So in other words, you have all these areas that are 1 acre lots or more or whatever. And then you've got these little spots here and there that are not so, they're not developed.
They're vacant land.
So if you put 30,000 square foot lots on there, what's, I guess, it's probably not as bad as it's made out to be. If that
Yeah.
makes sense, I'm probably not explaining
No,
myself very
The
well.
lot, the existing lots, example, at Arrowhead Heights, whatever it's called, those lots are not going to change.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so if they're 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 acre lots, they're going to be they're gonna be whatever they are today.
They're
They're
not
not,
gonna-
they're
they're
not
not
gonna be
gonna
sawed in
shrink.
half. But the area in between and through there could be a higher density in between there. And it would work out if it works out financially. But what I'm trying, and I can't emphasize this enough, we get one shot to do this. If we shut it off, it's done. The pipe can't go like. It's done.
So the pipe's not in yet. So you're talking about a future pipe, right? And is that going on Highway K?
That pipe is sized for everything within this area.
But I'm just saying, where's the pipe right now?
Oh,
Where's the
It's
extension?
down,
It would go
Right
from
next
like
to
Richmond Road down to Meyer. So like Richmond School down to Meyer and then wherever else, but that would be the main.
the pipe is
Right.
down, sitting in front of Quick Trip right now on 164 and K.
Okay, so
That-
Quick
that
Trip
didn't-
is not Richmond.
Right.
No, that's the end.
Extended up to Richmond.
So it has to be extended up to Richmond and go up Richmond?
Richmond School down to Meyer.
You look at the
Via,
drawing here.
via Highway
green-
K.
Via Highway K.
Yeah.
Yes,
The-
yes.
And the whole reason why we're talking about this, because we want to put it in because they're redoing Highway K. You got one opportunity to put this pipe in.
No.
No,
No. The,
Highway K is,
It's-
that's a whole nother issue. It's going to happen. That came up after this whole thing
To put the
started.
sewer pipe back in and properly size it from, along Richmond Road, you don't have the gravity feed, and it makes more sense to go down
Highway K.
Highway K.
You can't, there's
So
enough.
go by the fire
The question
station.
is how, really the question is how, what size is it gonna be? I mean, that's really, I think it's going to happen and it's gonna go that way.
And it'll help solve the problem at the school, at the elementary school. It'll help solve the problem here, right? Because these are commercial buildings and they want to be hooked up into sewer.
That size is necessary is this. We're talking about this. If
But-
you put it in only to serve Richmond School, it will never happen between Quick Trip right now and Richmond School. I can tell you that. I did this for 40 years.
So
It
what
will not
makes a
go in.
decision whether it's 6 inches or 18 inches? Why don't you just put an 18-inch pipe in there for future use and only have it provided to the school and to the firehouse right now?
The question is, how much more, I mean, how much more is a larger pipe, Warren? I mean, just, is it,
The cost isn't a pipe, the cost is in installing it.
No, okay, the way this process works is you create a sewer service area. That's where we're starting with right now. That sewer service area is approved by the municipality. It then goes to the sewer pack who has to review it, and it's based upon land use, not what it is right now today. It's about future ultimate land use. Then it goes from sewer pack and it goes to the DNR. Then you say, okay, everybody signed off on this thing and you're going to do it. Here's what the costs are. This is what the cost is going to be for the users, on and everything else. Do you have an agreement with the treatment plant? Yes, we do. We have an agreement with Sussex. Then the next thing is you go out and you design the thing, you build it, and you get one chance to do it. One chance. Because that pipe cannot, once you put that pipe in the ground, it's set.
I understand that. So I understand the size of the pipe can't be increased once it's in the ground. You don't
Okay,
have to keep
but-
telling me that.
Okay, but the cost of the size of that pipe, the installation of that cost has got to be paid by somebody, right? It's not going to be paid by the village of Lisbon. It's going to be paid for by the users, the people who connect to it. the businesses, the homes, the commercial and everything else. That's where the money comes from.
But the
Okay,
fact
and-
is that the Richmond School is going to have a new pipe put in from where Richmond School is to connect to the system. And again, where it goes and what size it is.
And the cost
they're not
associated
going
with
back-
that, right?
they're
So,
not going back to septic.
so say there's a cost associated, and right now it's only Richmond School and the firehouse, right? And the village has to pay for that cost of putting that pipe in, right?
And the school.
Well,
And the school.
everyone,
Users.
I know, but everyone that's a taxpayer is gonna end up paying for that.
No, that's not true.
No. Well, that doesn't come out of tax dollars, that comes out of user fees. So anyone who is in the utility district pays for that.
It's a
It
distinction, but
doesn't
it's,
come from
but if-
tax
but if,
dollars.
but if,
But
if
I pay
40% of
taxes
it,
for the school.
right, if 40% of, well, and I don't.
It's a lot higher than
But-
40% for the school.
No. So wait, let's start talking with some facts here. So let me, so we have, I think right now our cost sharing is 60% the school, 40% for the fire station. Okay.
65, 35.
So if,
Be that in the future.
okay,
It
that's
will-
what it is. That's what it is right now. So if we had a cost of replacing the pipe, that's the way it would be shared
That's wrong. That's incorrect.
based on the current formula. So, but to Kurt's point, if he's paying the taxes at Richmond and at Lisbon, again, if whoever's paying for it, but if he's the taxpayer there, if you're a taxpayer on the other side of Lisbon, then you're not responsible for Richmond's costs. But
Richmond's not paying for any of the pipe that's going down K. I mean, they'll pay the connection fee that they have to connect to the pipe, but they're not paying a split of any of that pipe. If we have to replace the force main, that's different, then yes, there's probably gonna be a 65-35 split. But the force main is it's the connection fees for whoever connects as it goes, user fees, and it'll probably be some type of long-term debt that as we collect user fees, we pay off that debt over time, over a long time.
So who pays for the installation if it's just Richmond School is only paying for the connection to that?
It'll
Right.
be the Lisbon utility. I mean, that it'll be some type of a 30-40 year
Yeah, they'll be
debt
All
service.
the taxpayers will be paying off.
No, because those are collected by impact fees of user or connection fees and user rates. It won't be paid by you as a taxpayer.
If only thing connected is Richmond School, it'll be paid for 100% by Richmond School.
is that what you just said?
He's talking about the connection.
Oh, the connection fee, okay.
It'll be their project, and just like the last one was, except this one will be designed correctly.
But only the connection fees, not the cost to
So one of
install
the-
pipe.
If it costs, if Richmond.
You only have one user, that user will pay the entire cost.
Yeah, I think
They-
I
It
think,
won't happen. The rest of that sewer won't be put in.
right, what
There'll be-
Joe's saying is that the project wouldn't happen to just benefit the service to Richmond School. It would have to be a joint benefit to the area. So the other potential option for the Richmond School is to replace their existing system with something new, which has limited users. It's this building and the school, and it's the troubled force main along Richmond Road. So that's the existing setup. Replacing that is an option. What we're talking about is a benefit to the whole area potentially, and the cost would be spread out among more people. And that's why it's a more attractive option.
Which the old carousel property would be more desirable, and then when something's built there.
Correct.
They would contribute. Then
You're
going
talking
down
about
to,
this thing here?
yep, then going down to Condon's farm or whoever that is over there.
Right.
That, if that would be developed, then
Oh, that's
it
what
just
you
would continue.
So when we talk about the density, by amending things from suburban density to the proposed low density, that, again, that's the density of October Fields. But if it's sewered, it could be developed with smaller lots. Again, we're saying could. We're talking about providing an opportunity, not a certainty. There's still, look at the land use is part of it. And then there's, somebody rezoning, and then there's plat approval, all the other processes still have to occur. It's just, it makes it potentially more attractive for developers to have the opportunity to do a more dense development that is sewered.
So I think low dense, going from suburban density to low density, that's something that I think the board would be fine with, but again, there's a large range there,
Yeah,
so.
that would be the minimum ask, I think. I think even with doing that, it's probably viable as far as, you know, what we're showing here.
But again, to say that every piece of undeveloped land in the pink area would be approved for 20,000 square foot lots, that we're not there as a body.
I get that, yep.
5 years.
Heard loud and clear that that's not desired. So, and I get that, going even smaller to something like in Sussex, this is the example we talked about, isn't necessarily desired. So, you know, the alternatives that exist within the code for somebody doing something like a conservation subdivision are still out there, right? You could have smaller lots doing something like that today, even if it's unsewered, right? So that opportunity is still going to be out there. And as far as, you know, the question of 3.4, any high density, high water use development areas desired for FA1, I think the answer is no, not desired, but we did talk about the possibility of the west side of the Pew Farm.
Can you pull that? Okay, so can you
And-
zoom in on that a little bit more?
Yeah.
So everyone, because I
Yeah.
think that's the one area that I would advocate for more density on. But not really much else. So again, this is 180, so almost 80 acre parcel. Here's a tree line.
You're saying west of the industrial park on K.
Right, so there's. Look at their new building. Is it?
It's just not up there yet.
Right there, yeah.
There?
Yep.
This one? Okay.
Yep.
So we do something like that potentially here and then, and this, or this, and maybe that, we have more density there.
Or even something like Business Park East, which has smaller lots, you know, wouldn't have to be lots as large as what they have in Sussex.
I don't think, again, this is the topography. I'm not in favor of industrial here.
I don't think it lends itself to that,
No.
yeah.
Again, this is where they're talking with the roundabout there.
Right.
So that's kind of a natural stop where the debate really for me is this, can other people envision this 40 as industrial, this 40 and maybe this, whatever this is, 30 as 20,000 square foot lots-ish.
Or 30.
Or 30. But then otherwise, and then that's about the extent of my willingness to go there.
Is that enough to even get a sewer to even talk about this, if it's just that area?
We don't know, but if the sewer is gonna be small, you probably end up with an 8 or 12-inch sewer in there, and that says, okay, the decision has been made. None of this will have sewer access.
Which means none of it could ever be.
I would
High
pose,
density.
I would pose it this way, if the areas that are suburban density today, if the land use was changed to low density, they could still be developed as 40,000 square foot lots.
Because it's within 20 to 1.5.
But it also provides the opportunity, should there be sewer serving that area in the future, for smaller lots. And I think that's the ask is, could you envision it potentially going the other way as well? So it doesn't eliminate the opportunity for 40,000 square foot lots. You could get an October Fields, which we've seen recently, out of that land use. But
Could get the other side.
But you could get the other side, and that could mean something like the existing development pattern here, you know, this subdivision, which has 30,000 square foot lots, which is just across from where we're talking about.
But if we change the land use plan to allowing this range, we are guaranteeing a developer that they can develop within this range, but we're not guaranteeing that they have the right to the low end of the range. We can insist on the high end of the
No,
range.
you
So-
still have to look at each one on a case by case basis, and you're still gonna get, you know, an opportunity to talk about a rezoning potentially, and you're still gonna get the opportunity to talk about a plat and the layout and the feel as far as the character of the area and connections to existing, you know, stubbed roads and things like that. All of that still has to be looked at and contemplated.
So I understand the benefit of including the larger service area, but I guess the one part I want to circle back on, and if anyone's going to watch this meeting, I don't want it to be not addressed, that we've heard the Mountain Shadows is a problem. It's got tons of, I haven't seen that. I grew up in Mountain Shadows. My parents still live there. I've had them ask. They don't see it. Their neighbors don't see it. Other people in the parks. Dan, you haven't seen that complaints come in at the village hall. If there's something out there that we're missing, if there's residents watching that we're not aware of these widespread failing systems, I guess now is the time to be made aware of that, so that we don't have one or two people here saying that there's an issue and others not being aware of it.
I think Joe's point was that they could fail at any point. And it happens, happens. I'm not saying it happened there, and I'm not saying they all should be on high alert that they're going to fail, but there is a gentleman that lives on Silver Spring is trying to connect to sewer as quickly as he can because his septic failed and he can't get land to perk. So now he's trying to work with Sussex to get sewer as a retail customer separate from us because it's not in our sewer service area. So I don't know about Mountain Shadows. I haven't got any complaints, but that is a
failing thing. Yes.
No, nobody's.
well, it's not like
It's could fail and all of them are failing are obviously two very different statements.
Correct.
But I think what I'm trying to say is that, if you look at 3.1, review established development / neighborhoods and advise on likelihood of sewer service. So the benefit of including a developed subdivision like that's older, that has older septic systems is, again, the potentiality of it being served. It's not that we want to force anyone that has a working septic system to have sewer. That's not the idea. The idea is that they're included in the service area and that benefit could be extended if needed. And so I think that's the difference that I want to draw, is that it might be seen by folks that something's happening to them rather than for them, but it does just provide an opportunity, and the sewer service could be looked at as a safety net should there be a failure of septic systems. And so I think the way that Joe's looking at it is from a percentages standpoint, just given the age of the subdivision and the systems, there's a chance that occurs, and that having it being in the service area is a benefit because then it could be served by sewer. And when we talk about an existing area like this with failing systems, there is a potential for federal funds to assist with providing service to an area like that.
We don't
So
know
that-
that they're failing right now.
No, nobody's saying that they are. We're just saying that based on it being an older subdivision, that's a reason to potentially include it because it could be an issue in the future. We have, when you're talking about a project of this size and scope, we're looking at the long term and what could potentially happen in the long term.
So by including Mountain Shadows in the sewer service area does not mean that you're going to, if this would all get approved and the laterals get put in, that you would be extending sewer laterals into that subdivision until there was a need
Correct.
Yeah.
You have to do
Oh,
what's called a needs assessment.
where you're seeing substantial failures.
Right.
At that point, if you have to go in and put those laterals into Mountain Shadows, you would be requiring everybody to hook up.
And the
Board policy, but usually.
I'm just
that's
trying
the way
to
it would be.
explain it
Correct.
to make sure we understand it.
And so the process to go through to get a sewer service extension is onerous, and that, I think that's part of where Joe's coming from, you get one shot. If we're gonna put effort into this, we want to be broad in what we include, so that you don't have to come back again and ask for an amendment for one subdivision as an example.
So if we be broad in what we include, but we are clear as a body that we are not putting pipes in the ground and forcing people to hook up. That, I think there's a lot more of a comfort for that than there.
Yeah, Joe, could you elaborate on how the lateral, service would progress?
mean, if I don't want to bore you to death, but this is what I spent my life on doing. I mean, what, 45 years of doing this. The way it happens is you get a development, and let's call Mountain Shadows as an example, the development. Based upon the existing soils that are there, the age of the system, the size of the lots, you do what's called a facilities plan. You do a study, a specific study at that time to see if there is a need. That's the key word, the need. Based upon the need, if the result of the facilities plan is that this area needs their systems replaced, then you look at alternatives of doing it. You look at the, okay, either they replace their existing on-site system with a conventional system, which will not happen in Mountain Shadows. I would bet anything on that, all the ones that I've done. It would probably be a mound. And you look at the cost of that versus the cost of putting a sewer in the street and hooking people up. And whatever is the most cost-effective way, that's what the DNR will approve. Then the next step you look at, okay, where can we get monies to pay for this to lessen the burden on the property owners? There's programs out there right now, and have been there for at least 48 years that I'm aware of, that lessens the cost. I cannot tell you what they are right now because it's on a specific basis, and that's how it goes. Then the decision is made to go ahead, put the system in. Everybody is required to hook up within that area. Unlike what happened by the town of Lisbon and that system that's out there right now, where you got this one's connected, this one's not. This one's connected. Oh, we're gonna stop here. We're gonna jump 3 to that. That's not done. Whoever designed that should have lost their license. And I'll say that in front of God and country right now. It is the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire career. It's absolutely atrocious, and we're dealing with that problems every month on a Wednesday night. If you want to come to the meetings, you'll enjoy the whole thing, trying to deal with this stuff. That's the way the system works. Everything from 0.0 on until you flush the toilet into the new sewer, if that's what is decided to be put in, there's various checkpoints to get done. What has been stated here tonight, and I don't know how many more times I've heard it in through there, this is an opportunity. It is not a requirement. This, just because a sewer goes in Highway K from Quick Trip up to Richmond School doesn't mean that everybody who stands or sits at the dining room table is going to have sewer tomorrow. That's not the way that it works. And I understand. I've dealt in gymnasiums with thousands of people there who get concerned about this until they calm down and listen to what people tell them. It's not putting a gun to your head, you got to have a sewer tomorrow. These are the alternatives. These are the costs. This is what the least costs are. I've done studies that's shown that it's cheaper to renew the on-site systems as opposed to putting in sewers. That's why you go through this, but you have to do it one step at a time. And what we're embarking upon tonight is the first step. If you don't get within the magic circle, you're SOL. That's a technical term, by the way. And you're never going to get sewer again. That means that you're going to be replacing your on-site system if you're an existing house every 20 years. That's documented. And 20 years, 20 years, 20 years. Plus, you're going to have the great old honey wagon out in front of your house every year pumping it out. I live on sanitary sewer. I live on a septic system. I've got a mound in my yard. It's 8 years old. And I know that in another 12 or 14 years, I'm gonna have to pay to have that whole darn thing replaced. By that time, it'll probably be $50,000 if I'm still alive. That's facts. It's not my conjecture. It's facts, documented facts. What we have before us is an opportunity to provide a benefit, in my opinion, to people for they have a future. They know what they're going to have. they're gonna know what can be done, what cannot be done. If we just carve out these little areas and that's all we're gonna have, the pipe is gonna be a lot smaller and it can't be increased. And the people that come up with these problems are gonna have that problem forever. Forever.
So if you don't include them in the study and the pipe's not big enough, they're screwed,
They're screwed, well, yes.
basically.
Yeah,
their
that's a
sys-
technical term.
If
yeah.
their system fail or
That's right.
SOL, like.
When their system fails. It's never about if it fails. On-site systems, which have been in Wisconsin for decades, have been documented. They don't last forever. And if you're going through Mountain Shadows right now or Arrowhead Heights or like that, and those people are maintaining their systems, which means they get them pumped out on a yearly basis. They've had
Every
them
3
tested.
years.
Every 3 years.
It's every 3 years.
Well, I have mine done every year.
It's
My
requirement is
sep-
every.
My septic system's was put in 83.
Right.
And mine just had to be inspected. You don't have to have it pumped. You just have to have it inspected to make sure it's still working
Well,
well.
So I guess I have one other quick, being devil's advocate question. Say this sewer service area would be approved and the lateral goes in. And you don't have users other than a few, the school, and the fire department. You're not gonna hook up Mountain Shadows because they're not having problems right now. You don't have any other developments going in, say for 5 years, who's paying for that
The,
cost?
who's not hooked up, it's going to have to be paid by the entity that put it in, which in this case would be the Village of Lisbon.
It would be the sewer utility. It would not be by the village.
Well,
And that cost would not get extended to the
We'd work with our financial
Taxpayer.
advisors on.
Correct,
outside of the area.
Yeah.
correct.
Would the taxpayers within that area, whether, even though they're not hooked up, be taxed for that
No.
cost?
No, they used to be, but they're not taxed anymore.
Okay.
be careful in saying things like that, please. I'm just warning you right now, when you say things like that, which aren't necessarily the way it works.
No, I mean, I was just saying that we used to tax people in the sanitary district and right now we do not tax people in the sanitary
The
district.
sanitary district used to have a tax on their end for people that were in the sewer, not the village of Lisbon or town of Lisbon. We didn't tax for.
There was actually.
I shouldn't say taxed.
But there was a tax, there was a. tax.
Yeah, there was a tax levy for anybody in the district at the
The tax bill that it was based on the value.
Yep.
The property, I should say, the property owners within the sewer area, whether they're hooked up or not, would be paying user fees to help defray the cost of that lateral that went in.
They would not be paying the same amount as somebody who's hooked up, but they will be paying some
Somebody.
fees.
Well, so.
Depends upon the way the sewer.
Can you guys jump in here? I mean, with some responses. So you hear the question?
Well, I would say that, in my experience, you're gonna have one main. It's one pipe from the school to, Sussex. That's it. And you're calling them laterals, but really it's another main going a different direction. That would be, only happen if a developer were coming that was going to need that, and they would pay much of that cost, and they would try to recover some of it as others.
But that's the
Connect,
problem is the
but-
developers come in and they want Lisbon to pay that cost.
Well, and then you deny their development. You say, no, we're not going to let that
Or they
happen.
want smaller lots.
People certainly ask as part of the negotiations of a development, but there's an opportunity to say no.
So typically, it's market driven. Whether that expands is gonna be market driven. If the market allows a developer to build and extend the sewer, that's when it'll be extended.
As an example, in the city of Franklin, they did a sanitary sewer service extension to include the southwest portion of that city. And the benefit was also going to be for Muskego, which was further west. And it was called the Ryan Creek Interceptor Sewer, and it ended up getting installed. And it didn't lead to a boom in development in that area right away. And so there was actually an issue with not enough customers at the onset of that being installed, and there were gas odor issues because there wasn't enough flow in the pipe at the onset of it being put in. And so, you know, the old "if you build it, they will come," you're planning for the long term. And long term, that interceptor is now got subdivisions and other development that are flowing into it in that area. But the development pattern, again, is going to be market driven, like Eric mentioned. And so it's again, planning for the long term and providing opportunities for a different development pattern and a potential different outcome than what you would get without the sewer.
The city of Pewaukee used to have an ordinance. I don't think it's in effect anymore. And I forget what the name of it was. Maybe you remember what it was, but it's
10-10 agreement.
yeah,
they
the
called it.
10-10 agreements. I don't know if they're still doing those. It said that, okay, let's figure this area in this room. And a developer wanted to develop over in the corner of the room over there, but the pipe was over through here. And what the city of Pewaukee by ordinance said, okay, if you want sewer for your area, Mr. or Mrs., you're gonna build and pay for the sewer from there all the way to where it is here, and you're gonna pay those costs. And you're gonna sit there on those costs until people, which may not happen, develop here and connect into that pipe. Otherwise, you're gonna play banker on that. That's one way of doing it. What it does discourage is if this person that's over there wants to develop doesn't have the financial wherewithal to do it, they're not going to develop. They're going to develop in the next room in the next community over there. So there's ways to get from A to B. Pewaukee, because of where they were and where they are, were successful enough to get enough developers to cough up the cash for that. And most of them got their money back over time.
We're gonna try to get some resolution here, or not, or kind of close this up.
20 years for the person across the street to hook up and reimburse me.
That's right. Well, yeah.
So Orin, wait, we're kind of going in circles now. What else, have you received enough feedback from us to know where to go or not? Not really? Do you want us to?
No, I think I've gotten good feedback. I think my question would be, is there anything other than Brian's ask of a calc of the acreage of the undeveloped land? Is there anything else that we can bring back to this group? Again, we're going to be working our way around the village, looking at other focus areas and having similar conversations about the potentiality of sewer to being extended to those areas and the land uses in those areas. Is there anything else in this area that, or any other details that I can bring back in the future?
Walkie language that Joe just mentioned for developers to pay for the.
I don't think anybody would do it.
Is there a calculation on the minimum lot size that would make this even feasible? Is 30,000,
Again, I think
based on a number per mile or
the
something?
assumption being used of the low density, if the plan commission is comfortable with that, it probably provides the opportunity for this to be viable. You know, I don't know that keeping the suburban density would.
There's a big range though, Orin, so
Yeah,
there's not
so
an
I-
appetite.
I
for
would
this-
say-
For lots smaller than 40,000 square feet, other than the area there by Kay and Lisbon.
That's
I
only
mean,
if that's enough.
There's 4 people that are very firm on that, and there's 2 that might be in that camp as well. I mean, you could see that.
Okay.
So I mean, like 1 acre minimum's kind of.
I think you need to use the 40,000 as a calculation.
I think I think the answer will likely be that average 40,000 square foot lots doesn't help with the sewer.
What? Warren, could you give what the minimum?
Sean, can you come up to the mic?
Okay, sorry.
No, I can't give you this is how many, 30,000 square foot lots you would need to make it work at this time.
No, but if you ran the numbers at a 30,000 square foot lot, it does work. You ran them at a 40,000 square foot, it does not work. I think Sean's asking, what's the tipping point that you would, for your calculations to?
That's pretty much it. And then I have a second follow-up on that too. You know, if we were to do exclusively Richmond, since it's in the Hamilton, wouldn't they have to go to referendum? And so ostensibly,
They're not in Hamilton, they're in
Richmond
Arrowhead.
is
I
its
mean,
own-
Arrowhead, so Arrowhead would then have to go to referendum.
No.
Richmond's its own,
Richmond is
they have their
its
own,
school district.
it's a unique system. They have their own school board, their own.
Right, right.
Yeah, at this point in time, Heartland, every school is its own district.
Right, exactly. And that
Yeah.
might, but wouldn't they then have to go to referendum if they
No.
would have?
No.
Yeah, 'cause
They
we're not,
don't have a choice. They've got 450 kids in there. They don't have a choice.
Okay. It's just if somebody
You
was
can't line
asked,
up that many porta johns out in the parking lot of Richmond School.
so Aaron, we thought we were there, but did we screw things up for you in the last 2 minutes?
Not me personally, no. I'm I'm gonna be just fine. But no, the feedback that I received is helpful. The conversations moving forward, again, if I can bring back more information for this specific focus area, I will. This will all again be getting passed along at some point to the board. If we need more formal action from you in the future, I will bring back and ask that of you. But for tonight, this has been great and I appreciate the discussion and all the feedback.
So what you said is that you'll keep the area as large as you can. You said maybe you'll adjust it based on property lines or otherwise, but that's what you heard is that you're gonna do is keep the area more or less the way you have it laid out?
If there are specific recommendations of things that you would like carved out, again, I don't need any action tonight, but you guys can dwell on the 3.1 to 3.4 and provide any further feedback in the future. Again, we can revisit this as we continue to go through the other focus areas.
Aaron, if you could do one thing for the
Yep.
next, the stuff that you're gonna give us for the next area.
Sure.
If you could overlay what is now the pink line over an aerial photo with cadastral on it. I
Yep.
think that additional exhibit would help everybody understand, especially in these ensuing, the next 4 areas. They're a lot denser. So people could see what is and is not included as far as what's out there right now. I
Can do.
think that would help. That's
Yep.
just 2 more layers
That's,
on a similar, separate exhibit.
yeah, that's easy to do.
How concrete is your pink line, Orin?
It's not, again, that's the maximum extent of area that could be served using gravity sewer. And it's based on the topography, which is why you kind of see some of the parcels carved up a little bit. So what we were trying to convey earlier is that for a formal submittal to sewer pack, we would probably include whole parcel boundaries in the sewer service area, the sewer shed area. But we can, because an area can be served, doesn't mean we need to show it being served. And that
The
was
reason
the-
why I'm asking is the Celtic Ridge Estates is where I live. And you have a boundary cutting through a portion of Celtic Ridge where some of the properties are included and some aren't, and the ones that aren't are butting right up against Osblick Ski Hill.
Okay.
So that's all, I was just want to make sure.
You're right.
If you're gonna include Celtic Ridge, I would think you want to include all those parcels in Celtic Ridge.
It's based on the gravity though, they wouldn't be fed by a gravity system, right? That's,
But they would because they're up against the ski hill. They're actually at a higher elevation than even my property is.
So you mean the north, the lots in the northeast
Yep, northeast.
being excluded?
hmm There's like 5 or 6 lots there that you have partitioned off.
Okay.
There are actually homes built on them already.
Sure, I can inquire as to why that was.
does it go down and then back off? Or no?
It goes down a little bit around the corner, but the properties that are excluded are north and they're up because the ski hill is high.
Yeah.
Not
I'll-
that I'm in favor of it anyways, but I'm just saying but if the boundary is gonna be concrete and stay, I would think you'd want to include everything.
All right, this was agendized as discussion and necessary action, but I don't think we have any action, so are we done with the discussion? If we are, then Oren, you have a relatively quick planners report?
Yeah, we just have two application submittals for the next meeting, a conditional use permit and site plan for Mr. Heinrich's storage development up on Q, and then a site plan of operation for a tenant occupying an existing industrial building. So those are the items. We not the preliminary plat for Alpine Hills.
Yes, we did receive the preliminary plat for Alpine Hills, but we are sitting on that because they want to wait until Osblick is ready with their amendments.
Okay, that's it.
And we're sitting on that at their request.
So I have to report.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.
All right,
Aye.
wait, so I'll take that. Rob, I heard, and who seconded it? And Sean seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. I've got 9:42.
Yep.
We had the delay on that, right?
Yes.